My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence, that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft.
It is Friday, July 25th, 2025, and the demons that are gang stalking outside of my hotel room are tracking my steps with ongoing amplified audible activity under the fake sun and an engineer light, and also engaging in surveillance. It includes Simba. I'm going to go ahead and capture them gang stalking me right now with housekeeping at the venue. Simba's driving license 9TPS 450, crossing path under the fake sun, monitoring with the same demon 9MBP 997. She was under the fake sun at 4 p.m. and she's at a distance away from my room, but at the same time, while I'm walking inside of my hotel room, the sound of what is her cart, which is impossible audible activity and impossible sensational activity, is creating rumbling, earthquake-like activity inside of my hotel room at the moment that I move. Remember, the area that you'll see, I'm taking images right now of 1:46 p.m. You know that this is engineered light that's in the shaded area. This is gang stalking by the establishment economy and in concert with the people of the state, including Simba. They would like to represent themselves as being in first of all, a company, a corporation of faith that's engaged in housing provision and services to the country, while they extend themselves and represent themselves as being one that represents religious beliefs, but it is only going to be religious beliefs. They're engaged in the demonic pattern of conduct with the city of Ontario under the fake sun. I'm going to go ahead and capture that as well. This same demon that was gang stalking yesterday under the 4 p.m. fake sun, the fake sun's right over me right now. It is currently 1:47 p.m. Again, she is gang stalking with Simba, S-Y-M-B-A. Google it. The City of Ontario is gang stalking me with them. They're engaged in federal stalking on my communication device as well. Phone numbers that are texting me, giving me rides with the City of Ontario. They're on video gang stalking, as I documented on July 15, 2025, at the Ovid Family Community Library. They were wearing the light blue t-shirts, gang stalking, while at the same time Satan is representing itself as being a company serving the public. This is exactly what the government is doing while they're engaged in the criminal misuse of resources, such as paying for hotel rooms like the City of Ontario is now, while they're keeping my vagina under surveillance in that hotel room with companies like Simba, S-Y-M-B-A, who is engaged in state surveillance like I just documented right now. And I want to be clear, while they drive off the property, the entity does not cease to, which is what Simba represents, the corrupt entity, and they don't cease to be engaged in that pattern of conduct. I'm just giving you proof that Simba is a gang stalker while I'm subject to sensational activity inside of my hotel room that is inexplicable in the natural. But again, this is why you document the demonic pattern of conduct, which the demon-possessed, the government utilizes to falsely depict the character of someone that would claim that strangers are stalking them, but they don't have any evidence as to how that is the case and why that would be the case and how that is executed. The entity that engages in this is the special needs population. It does include the people of the state license 9MBP 997. She is gang stalking in a hotel room. Remember where I'm walking under this shaded structure at 201 Stalking Avenue, where the fake sun is rising, where the fake sun is setting, and where it's also present while I'm documenting this particular gang stalking, potentially at the end of the gang stalking. She's in room 223 and targeting me at a distance away from my hotel room. That is the demonic pattern of conduct that the demon-possessed use when they're gang stalking me in helicopters as well. That's the entity's same tactic when the demon-possessed are gang stalking me by commercial planes as well. This is the entity, the tactic that the entity uses when they're gang stalking in emergency vehicles such as the fire department, the police department, and the ambulance, and the demons utilize American Medical Response ambulances in the City of Ontario, okay? This demon is engaged in the P.O.C. I'm going to go ahead and capture video right now. It is currently 1:49 p.m. I am going into video in order to show you the specific environment where demons are targeting at a distance away from you. But for the evidence showing the federal government, the malice of the government that's engaged in the P.O.C. with the people of the state who are both employees and patrons of the venue. You're walking into the light. She's monitoring. Okay, this is how she's monitoring. Don't have to talk to you. Okay, this is engineer light. This is the shadow of the gate as I walk in it. You're monitoring. You're also stalking in the path, keeping your back to that person. You don't have to talk to them. Walking behind me, stalking under the fake sun that's here at 7, like you saw yesterday at 4 in the afternoon. Walking past the Stevens Hotel room, my shadow appears on the ceiling inside of this hotel room when you're looking at what is the supernatural, and these are demons that are pacing, and they're also monitoring my vagina. Sex offenders, male and female. Federal stalking is underway, and these are demons that are pacing, and they're all focused on me. This is the demon possessed, and it's also the criminal surveillance of the state of California. The impossible light is all in the depths. Just walking out to engage in pattern of conduct. The establishment is going to be prosecuted, and this is state surveillance. The state of California, the City of Ontario is engaged in, and this demon is engaged in as an employee, and potentially one that's going to be subject to deportation, is gang stalking with the patrons, like they just demonstrated, under the fake sun, and they are engaged in a whole operation here, and it's entirely unintelligent. That's why she's gang stalking after 4 p.m. yesterday. It's 1:50. Okay, 1:51 p.m. and this is how you're going to prove targeting. The entity is doing it. This is all shade. Okay, so the inexplicable presence of the shadow of this gate, the gate is in the shade. Okay, this is supposed to be the light, which is distinct, and even that's impossible light activity. Okay, while it's appearing on here, but you're going to recognize where they're stalking. Right, they're stalking right where the entity is maintaining. Hold on. Where the entity is maintaining the engineer light that's above. This is also, I want you to see it. This is all light. It's supposed to be the shade. That's an illusion. They're all stalking an engineer light. And while you are stalking on the roads and highways, it's amplified audible activity while you're stalking inside your hotel rooms. And so is the housekeeper. And she's at this distance while I'm inside of my hotel room, and the rumbling of the floor. I'm outside amongst them right now. That's not going to cause your floor to vibrate. You're also witnessing mental illness while the demon-possessed engage in targeting you and not addressing you. They're going to be diagnosed and placed in mental asylums and federal prison. And this is what Tracy Banks does while gang stalking as a relative. And she does so with people of the state. So let me show you that this is a demon. This is indeed a demon, and this is the evidence that that's a demon. This is where the fake son is at 9 o'clock in the morning. Her license is 9EKC 937. She's also a sex offender engaged in federal stalking. And possible light as she opens the door. This isn't even the son that's above me. This is evidence of this being a demon-possessed person. And she shares the condition of all of these demons that are stalking on the roads and highways, including Ontario Police crossing path right now at 1:52 p.m. You need to understand, it's just a police vehicle that's speaking to the demon possession of Mike LORENZ and everybody of the Ontario Police Department, just bearing a logo. This is exposing the demon-possessed population. The sound of amplified traffic while this demon walks outside, an inexplicable light that's appearing on the door, that's all over the ceiling, stalking you in your face while engaged in severe methods of monitoring, so meaning severely obsessive. And this is the vessel, meaning human beings that are demon possessed that are gang stalking, and all she's doing is stalking. Remember, it's activity creation. Pacing in and out of the room, under the fake sun, stalking in your face. The fake sun is here for 12 hours, and this is what you're doing when you're paying for hotel rooms to engage in that P.O.C. And this is exactly what you're documenting. This is obsession. This is mental illness exhibited by those that are engaging in that P.O.C. Okay? And I want to be clear because the employees are going to federal prison. All right? The employees are going to federal prison. That's pacing. That's 9MBP 997. All right, and gang stalking, where the sensational activity is created while she's at a distance away from the hotel room. And this is speaking to the evidence of what is indeed supernatural. It's called activity creation. And in the document entitled Economy in the People PDF, that's the document where I'm documenting the ongoing methods of targeting while demons are inside of their hotel room, stalking in the path beneath my room, above my room, and around my room, while they are sharing in that pattern of conduct, and it is massive surveillance. Okay, the employees are identified that are engaged in kidnapping on September 25th, 2020 as the entity engaged in obstruction of justice, and they are gang stalking and doing so as you're witnessing malice and impunity. You're witnessing severe mental illness. This is psychopathic behavior. While the demon-possessed that don't have any defense, no intellectual response, they just gang stalk as though nothing's happening. Okay? And this is speaking to the national security threat of the mentally ill, the special needs population that are targeting American citizens. And this is the system that Tracy Banks, Jason Isaac Fields, the Ontario Police Department, the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, the corrupt courts such as the Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court, demons like Lisa Rogan, engaging what are kidnapping while they're targeting as an entity and relying on that to falsely depict the character of an American citizen when you're witnessing their severe mental illness, the psychopathic and antisocial disorders that are inherent to gang stalking, the asininity of doing it under a fake sun. This is where the fake sun is at 9:30 in the morning. All right, this is where the entity is gang stalking by commercial planes, WAPNER, by helicopter, Mike LORENZ. Okay, gang stalking by the entity that sounds sirens, demons, just like that. They just have training to be identified as behind acronyms like EMT when the same demon-possessed gang stalking system is underway. Okay, this is speaking to public corruption, and the entities engaged in what is the inhumane and psychologically harmful pattern of conduct of gang stalking. And this is the demon that's obsessively stalking your path. She's in alignment to my room. She's under the fake sun that's no longer at that end. It's right here over me. This is how you're identifying she's stalking, and she's doing so as a whole government operation. And the government's ongoing obsession, which is illustrated through the gang stalking tactics of the people of the state who are demon-possessed, that's going to remove demons like Paulion from office. Okay, because you need to understand the maniacal, psychopathic issues that are behind gang stalking. Okay, this is showing obsession, not normalcy. This is manning the path and maintaining presence regardless. And there is no longer any mystery there. There's no anonymity. The entity is speaking to specific knowledge. This is where the fake sun is at, where I'm documenting at 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon. And the demon is at a distance, stalking with the ongoing roarous, like rumbling sound. I'm wearing headphones, listening to content. And while demons are under my room, surrounding my room, pacing around my room, including via aircrafts, like you already know, L&D WAPNER has already shown you that they're gang stalking, so you know who she's acting with. And she only represents one person. She represents the entity that is gang stalking under a fake sun that's over this 2301 South Euclid Avenue for 12 hours from 7:16 a.m. until 7:04 p.m. where I'm at now, Economy Inn. And there is no provision for Tracy Banks to ever have the sun over her apartment, contrary to what I documented, when the same demons, the people of the state, are gang stalking at Woodside Senior Apartments at 408 West G Street in Ontario, California. Let alone what I'm documenting in Monrovia, California, where the fake sun's remaining over my hotel room, remaining over that venue, where the Monrovia Police Department and the people of the state, the demon-possessed, that are gang stalking at that hotel. That's Courtyard by Marriott, a gang stalker that makes a lot more money and has a lot nicer of a venue, while they are still engaged in the sexually perverted and psychologically harmful criminal pattern of conduct of surveillance via the people of the state. Corrupt business practices are shown under the fake sun, okay? This is the P.O.C. and this is obsession. This is what you're looking at. Okay, I've already shown you, and you're looking at what is crossing the path, making sure that she's maintaining touches on the path, and there's sex offenders that are obsessed with my vagina as well. This is the Jezebel spirit operating over a person. Spirits are invisible. You're identifying them through the pattern of conduct, through the maintenance of impossible life that's occurring in a manner that you're not supposed to be aware of, okay? And that's the P.O.C. Again, license 5MBP997. If she's not a natural born citizen, she's going to be deported. And she's gang stalking the demons of all races in both genders. Sex offenders of the male gender, sex offenders of the female gender. It's a spirit that's a sex offender, and it's inspiring the criminal conduct of the government who acts through the people of the state, and they are all highly unintelligent. Okay, at what is 1:58 p.m., 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the entity's keeping the fake sun over Starbucks. All right, at 507 North Euclid Avenue. This is speaking to the specific environment where Starbucks committed kidnapping with the people of the state who engage in criminal summoning and lie about you while they are hostile to you documenting them, which is exactly what she knows is underway. But a psychopath acts like they're oblivious to your presence, acts like they don't know, they're not paying attention to you. And that psychopathic iteration of showing you what is mental illness is proven through what is the maintenance of the specific environment where the government is keeping you under surveillance, okay? And it's an unlawful threat. It's an unlawful threat to your safety, to your life, to your liberty, as the entity engages in a pattern of kidnapping. And the entity is doing it where I'm showing you the fake sun is over me at 9 o'clock in the morning on this side of the property, at 9 o'clock in the morning on this side of the property. I'm showing you it's over me at 7 o'clock in the morning when I'm standing in the parking lot where this demon is right now gang stalking, and doing so as it means it's cooperative. She's not acting by herself, all right? And the entity is stalking in all of these hotels. This is how desperate the people of the state are to keep me under surveillance, paying money at a facility, at an establishment in order to engage in what is stalking me. That's how important my vagina is. That's how important to a bunch of sex offenders who are demon-possessed is the Jezebel spirit. And that's how important and crucial I am. Every move that I make is subject to surveillance. And that's how you have what is the rumbling activity, impossible light that you already know is inside of this hotel room. And then the demon-possessed keep their back to you as though you have forgotten that evidence, and you haven't. This is relevant for what is diagnosis of mental illness and prosecution, conviction for criminal conduct. This is crossing path. And that's federal stalking in plain view. She's engaged in monitoring on communication devices and on the internet, okay? This is P.O.C. It is currently 1:59 p.m. and I am stepping out documenting, again, license 9MBP 997 is targeting while she's at a distance. At the moment that I move inside of my hotel room, that's when the impossible maintenance of any sort of sensational activity on the floor is coexisting with what is known about what I'm doing, movement as I move. The entity does the same thing with plane activity, helicopter activity, amplified sound of traffic, any means of maintaining noise and engineered light, while a bunch of demons are stalking, coming in and out of their hotel rooms, going to and fifth pacing. They're doing while the fake sun's over me at this end, and this is where the fake sun is right now, where demons are stalking, okay? This is where I was at 9:30 in the morning when I'm documenting the same pattern of conduct. This is P.O.C. and economy has been engaged in and documented as engaged in gang stalking as of 2020. They engaged in kidnapping, and this is showing impunity. Gang stalking immigrants are going to be deported, and the unlawful threat that they pose to American citizens while they're engaged in targeting and such is evidence supporting that federal policy. It is currently, again, 2 p.m. on the dot. This is P.O.C. at economy end. Alrighty, I am documenting the P.O.C. on video, as you can hear. So let me go ahead and turn this stuff down on mute real quick because I stepped outside to get video and I had to put my phone in my pocket really quick. But the entity is engaged in gang stalking, as you can hear. Me documenting on video, and you'll see on video the fake sun that is over the same venue in the morning is in the same position that it is in the morning. It would not even be over this venue, this address, this location, this ecological, the latitude and longitude of where this is at, this address is located. The sun would not be over this property at all. Not only is it over the property at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it's over me at the property, which is what you can see in detail. And again, I've been documenting this for years. It's the maintenance of an environment, which is an obvious crime scene, and you are witnessing obsession while demons are maintaining presence by walking in and out of their hotel room, stalking obsessively. And that's the government. That is obsessively keeping me under surveillance. You need to understand that this is an entity that's exposing itself. The people of the state are doing so on behalf of the government that's gang stalking through every level of government. They use their helicopters, they use their police departments, they use the entirety of their police resources to engage in gang stalking, like the Ontario Police Department has foolishly and fully exposed about itself. They are acting through the people of the state that are at the venue. They're not interested under the fake sun. Understand, engineer light is over. The demons that I just captured on video, the shadows that are appearing above their head while they're monitoring me, doing so while I'm walking toward that corner of the building, doing so while the demon that's, again, under the guise of an employee, which is just exposing you to federal prison, but as an employee, you're in this environment where you're in this engineered environment where that pattern of conduct is clearly recognized as well. Not only is that not sunlight, that's underneath the covered structure into the corners for the gang stalking purposes of those who are engaged in surveillance, but these are demons. Understand that. This is the demon-possessed population and who are so obsessed. This is where I'm exposing not only the crime scene, I need you to recognize this is obsession that is no longer concealed. They are so obsessed they cannot control themselves and not engage in crossing path activity creation. They are more concerned with monitoring, even on video in plain sight. It is not less threatening. It is incriminating regarding the psychological torture and the blatant threat that the government poses by gang stalking American citizens in the way that it just documented on video. You go to federal prison for that. They are so obsessed they just did it on video. That's what gang stalking is built of. Is built upon. That's how it's executed. The entity is doing it while I'm inside of my room and an earthquake is occurring as I walk from my bed to the sink. I walk outside seconds later and this demon doesn't have enough time to be at the hotel room at the opposite end. Regardless of where she's at, it's never going to cause an earthquake in my room, but that's letting you know that it is not based on the natural maintenance. These are demon-possessed people, number one, and their obsession is what you are looking at because you already know that they're gang stalking. And you know that they're demons. So I want you to pay attention because now you're going beneath the surface even deeper because you're looking at the demon-possessed showing their obsession with me. A sane defendant that doesn't want to be exposed as demons, first of all, and obsessed with me, because that's what they would like to contend. These are the lies that envious and psychopathic sex offenders, pedophiles like Tracy Banks would like to contend. I'm so unimportant. I'm lesser than you. I'm less important than you, even though that's not a defense to stalking somebody, trying to put somebody down. And that's what, again, that's the spirit of Satan that is also showing that they're obsessed with you because you resort to insults when all you have to do is answer the question whether you're a stalker or not. If you're not a stalker, then you're not a stalker. You don't have to put down the person that is accusing you of stalking them. But again, gang stalking is not going to be resolved by merely making allegations because these are demons that are targeting you in a malicious manner, and it's supposed to appear as though, but for evidence of it, that you're hallucinating. That's the malice of the demon-possessed. Now, the demon-possessed are engaging in what is defaming your character. And doing so not only by gang stalking, which is supposed to occur because of your absence of evidence proving, number one, demons and a demonic pattern of conduct, a supernatural pattern of conduct, such as being at the opposite end of a building, but yet I'm able to experience something that what you're doing is affecting me, creating earthquake-like conduct, that sensational activity inside of my hotel room. And not just occurring, it occurs with simultaneity to all of a sudden I get out of bed and I start walking. This domestic terrorist, this sex offender license 9MBP997 is stalking in the path. This is the same unintelligent method of gang stalking. And the state of California is engaging in terrorizing American citizens through immigrants. And they're going to be deported for it. Okay, the entity is engaging in this, and if this third party is not a natural born citizen, she's out of this country. And any children that she has not keeping her here, I don't care if she's got a baby daddy or a husband that's in the military, she's out of this country. And immigrants that are engaging in terrorism in this country are not welcome. Period. That's the line, and you just crossed it. If you thought that you belong here and you have a right to be here, you do not. And that is going to be revoked upon exposure, documentation, evidence, a prosecution for domestic terrorism with the government. You're going to be deported. So in that same government, by the way, the federal government will not hesitate to deport you. And that's where you will learn how much you do not actually belong here. You don't have a right to be here terrorizing American citizens, let alone those who are natural born citizens. You are entirely un-American. In the same way, by the way, I want to say American citizens that are engaging in gang stalking are equally un-American. But that is literally the obvious default result. You're a gang stalker, you're not even a natural born citizen, you're out of this country. So you can bank on that. You're going to be deported. The entity is engaging in this with the demonic pattern of conduct, and the entity is utilizing what are satanic means that is supernatural. So what do I do to help you understand the bigger picture? Psychopaths engage in gang stalking one person together and not making any sort of not that they have to, but you're looking at how psychopathic they are and how delusional they are. They're walking around with their shadows above their heads, moving across the ceiling. They're doing so while it's in the shade. They're doing so under a fake sun, where I have already surrounded these demons who are more obsessed with me, meaning they cannot withstand my documenting the evidence, and they're still gang stalking. That's showing that is the evidence of obsession. Do you understand? The demon possessed are not going to vocalize their obsession with me. The government is not going to vocalize its obsession with me. The demon possessed engage in what are insults to the target individual, which, by the way, breaking that down psychologically is also understanding how they are vocalizing obsession with me. Doing so because you are hostile to what is your true sentiment for me. You are obsessed with me. You're obsessed with my vagina, my genitalia. You're obsessed with my mannerisms, the way that I speak, the way that I think. You're obsessed with me. And what is their obsession born of? Because these are demons. That's why. Okay, so their obsession, remember, if they knew Christ Jesus, if they were not lost, then they would have their identity, which is given to you in Christ, your creator, and you would not be consumed with what Satan is consumed with, wanting to be that which he's never going to be. He's never going to be like God, and this is understanding spiritually what is Satan's objective. Satan is a spirit who's using people, and I'm prosecuting them for gang stalking. Satan is a spirit, and he is utilizing what are people to engage in obsessing over me, and their obsession is shown through and proven through their stalking me, and they cannot even stop stalking on video. That's the evidence and the testimony, okay, of their obsession. You will never hear it out of the mouth of the demon possessed. They are indeed mentally ill. The government's obsession, and that's because the demon possessed fill the government. That's why the government is gang stalking me. And that's what you need to understand. That's what I want to make sure is clear. This is how you are going to understand and recognize the mental illness, recognize what are the ingredients to, and the, if you want to break something down psychologically, which again, the federal government is typically, even those that are in law enforcement, even in law school, you're always breaking down psychologically what's behind the actions of others. And I'm showing you how to do that, because it's not going to come out of the mouth. The demon possessed are not going to admit this. And I'm showing you what they are communicating to you, those who are witnessing me exposing the demon possessed, who in silence are exposing the fact that they are obsessed with me, that they're violent sex offenders, that they are stalking with impunity, and their obsession is unhinged. Okay, the African-American woman standing in the middle of the parking lot, that fake sun is moving as I move on this property. The same property where the fake sun is over this property at 7:16 in the morning, on video at 11:45 in the morning, on video at 12:42 in the afternoon, 12:52 in the afternoon, 9:30 in the morning, 9:32 in the morning, in the same position that I'm capturing it right now at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And you know that it's still here, even reflecting off of the windows of this same venue at 7:04 p.m. And that's also an illusion. An illusion with regard to what, an illusion is a reference to what is, you are looking at it, it's actually there. But it's an illusion with regard to what can possibly be the case under natural circumstances. This is exposing the presence of Satan. Satan is a spirit. Satan is using people. This is exposing those who have the spirit of Satan on them. And this is not just a call that you need Jesus. This is going to be a federal prosecution for your condition and what is proof of your criminal activity, including while the government stood in the middle of the parking lot stalking me with that level of impunity and malice exhibited by the people of the state, the vicarious arm of the government. And the government is also proving its obsession with me. This obsession is rooted in the mental illness, because that's how demon possession is going to be addressed, because that's relevant to what is the threat to the American public. Because of your demon possession, which is speaking to your behavioral issues that cause you to engage in targeting innocent American citizens, where you have no legitimate government interest whatsoever in their genitalia, in their privacy, what they're doing at work, and no warrant, no probable cause. Because of your mental illness, that's getting to their behavior, how that mental illness is manifestly occurring and affecting other people, where you don't have any constitutional rights and no legitimate government interest. This is how the demon possession is going to be prosecuted and addressed in courts. Mental illness. And it's actual mental illness, not the mental illness that corrupt governments, and which are acting via corrupt courts, acting in concert with these same demons who are gang stalking the same mentally ill population, who are bearing false witness about perfectly sane. In fact, advanced people, American citizens, that are a threat to the demon possessed, to this population. And that's why Satan, one of the reasons why Satan targets. Okay, but I just want to be clear. The proof of obsession, which is inherent to stalking, is in the video documentation that you'll see. They are stalking right in the face of the world, so you can see what they're doing. And they're not wearing the government's not wearing a mask. There's no acting there. So for you to engage in what is gang stalking a person right in their face, which is exactly what you're doing while you're walking in and out of your hotel room, while you're looking to the left and the right, like you couldn't be concerned in the least about the person that you are clearly gang stalking, while you're engaging in what is all manner of, what is it that you're doing? What are you looking for in your car? You're a demon and you're stalking. There's no question there. You are witnessing the evidence of what is obsession. And you will never get the truth out of Satan. Satan is a liar. He is the father of lies. Satan's spirit fills all of the entity that is gang stalking. And this is the evidence of obsession and stalking. And the government's going to be prosecuted for this level of threatening the lives of American citizens. Because this is exactly what you're doing. All you're going to do is replace the vehicles in the parking lot with whatever the city police department is, because they're the same demon-possessed entity. Those demons just dress up like it's Halloween every day, like they're police officers that are engaged in law enforcement. It's public corruption. There is no difference there. The only difference is the name, the physical appearance of the person, and how they identify, which Satan hides behind labels. Satan hides behind things like badges and positions and government department names and specialties. Those are all distractions. They're demons. Strip it down to the bare bones. They're demons. Okay? You're going to prosecute for what I just captured on video. Okay, this is what the demons do. Okay, they don't have any self-control, and this is useful. It's prosecutorial. Okay, with regard to my prosecutorial purposes, it is, I mean, just a wealth. I'm swimming in evidence. Okay, and I'm not only doing this because, yes, I'm very much interested and focused on prosecution. You need to understand the threat that my fake family members and fake friends pose. This is the same level of malice. Now you're understanding it's even more, which is why you're going to federal prison. When you're understanding the government system, when you are in the family, when you are in the social circle of the target individuals, you're going to federal prison. Okay? This is going to disincentivize the government that's targeting through those closest to you. Even if you vowed and you don't have any friends where you go every day, they're going to federal prison. Say you go to Starbucks every morning, you see the same people, they're on the same work schedule, they're routinely targeting you. You go to school every day, you sit in class with the same peer members, everybody in that building at that campus that's engaged in gang stalking, they're surrounding you in that classroom every day. You guys attend the same classes. You have the same major, so you frequent the same classes for a whole semester or for a year, and they're gang stalking you. Your professors are gang stalking you, and it's also relevant to those that are in leadership at that corrupt institution that are targeting you. Targeting you is also not occurring in relevant position. Targeting you is also going to occur with regard to you're not getting the accomplishments that you have achieved, for example, not getting the recognition that you deserve. For example, you're getting a C when you clearly earned an A, and these are things that you didn't. Perhaps I'm just giving you an example. You're not going to argue about it. You're not going to go teeth and nail about it, but it's something that you perhaps knew in the back of your head. This is how targeting is occurring as well in every aspect of your life. The demons that are obsessed with you, the demons that are obsessed with your genitalia, the demons that are stalking you, and that they're so ashamed of it, they're both hostile to it. They're mad at themselves. They hate themselves for being obsessed with you, while Satan uses them. Okay, Satan is the one that is animating their purpose. That's not a defense because they're choosing to. These demons are choosing to walk it. They're so obsessed, they walk, they run, they jump off the cliff into a federal case, and that's how obsessed they are with me. Okay, that's not a compliment. But as far as getting justice, the demon-possessed cannot avoid justice because their mental illness is so far advanced and severe. They don't have self-control to engage in ceasing to offend. Okay, so the entity is engaged in targeting in ways that affect you as well, and whatever it is your professional prospects are, whatever your academic prospects are, in addition to gang stalking you at work, gang stalking you at school, gang stalking you wherever you frequent, at the grocery store. There is no avoiding that. So I want to make sure that that's clear. And those that are in your close circle, they are threatening your safety very much. Those are the first ones that are poised. Oh yeah, she's always, or he or she, they've always been, we've been concerned for a long time, and they're lying. They are lying through their false teeth, okay? And they are doing so as the same envious and obsessed and mentally sick population. Satan is hiding in the meat suits of those who are closest to you. This is the system, the demonic system of gang stalking, and the government relies on it. And who the government relies on, they're going to federal prison, okay? This is how you're taking out the terrorists, that is the state governments. The terrorist is relying on the people of the state. So who are those that the government's relying on the first? Because those are the first ones that are going to prison. They're going to federal prison, okay? And they're going to mental asylums while they want to demonstrate severe mental illness. You can pace in front of me if you want to, because when I document, that's going to be used to diagnose, and you're going to an asylum. It's still a federal facility, but you'll be going while you want to present evidence regarding how mentally sick you are while you're already gang stalking. You're already on the wrong side of the field with regard to behavioral health issues that pose a national security threat to American citizens. If you want to provide that level of evidence while you are stalking and gang stalking, targeting with the government. Remember, the government is gang stalking in furtherance of murder and kidnapping. So where you want to provide that level of evidence, and this is the entity that lacks, they're not engaged in any legal reasoning. These demons just on video engaged in gang stalking, which is putting Paul Leon out of office, Michael GERKEN, Mike LORENZ, Alan D. WAPNER. You know what they're doing while the people of the state are gang stalking in the city under the fake sun. So the fake sun is remaining over one raggedy hotel in Ontario. The rest of the city in Ontario is targeting. Understand that. And the ridiculousness of having the fake sun over one building in that city is the evidence of it. That's how the whole city is targeting you. The whole city doesn't have to drive onto the grounds of economy and to prove that targeting. That's how they're targeting you. Okay? And the entity is obsessed, and they do engage, and these are the secrets, they do engage in wanting to participate as the demon possessed, to just get on the 60 freeway and participate in targeting. Okay? This is what the demon possessed do. This is how they are engaging in psychologically torturing as a population in ways in which the ordinary American citizen, the federal government that's not demonic, that's not corrupt, okay? And that's something that I'm not going to hesitate to voice to. So you've already witnessed that, and that's exactly what I will call out. Those that think that you're not a hero, no, you're not, and that's going to be addressed because it's for those that need to know what's going on. But nonetheless, they do exist. The Lord God, let me be here. The Lord God told me to do this, to document, to expose, to blow the whistle, to establish precedent, to expose all of the tactics of the entity, and that includes the fact that there are those that are not a part of this criminal pattern of conduct. That's exactly why the Lord God told me to do this. So I already know that there is an uninfected aspect to what the federal government is essential to, and that's providing justice. Now, identifying the terrorist threat of the American government, this is so sad, but the American government that's targeting through the people of the state, those that are in your social circle, what the people of the state are providing, they are always establishing and serving their own demise. Okay? Those that are in your family, gang stalking like you just witnessed, this is what your mother will do. And your mother derives pleasure from it because, first of all, she's a psychopath, but also she derives pleasure from it because the demon possessed that are delusional, they're delusional because they're already surrounded with evidence. But take me out of the equation, take the P.O.C. out of the equation, but for the evidence, your psychopathic mother who is demon possessed, who is gang stalking you as your spouse or, or as your parent, doing it to any person in your family, but just putting myself as a situation, your psychopathic mother who's a demon, who is gang stalking you, derives pleasure from it. And that's also psychopathic, by the way, and antisocial. But they derive pleasure from it while the demons are targeting someone in an inexplicable manner. Inexplicable by nature. Inexplicable with regard to how you're being surrounded with the loud activity, earthquake conduct that it's like an earthquake that's exclusive to you. These are the things that the demon possessed, they derive pleasure from while it's supposed to cause you to question your own sanity. Did that even actually happen? Okay, and why am I experiencing that? What is wrong with me? Okay, and these are also the things that I want to speak to. There's nothing wrong with you. This is Satan. That is a spirit that uses the people around who are filled with demonic spirits, and you are being targeted. You are being targeted not only while they have a physical objective, but their objective is also to cause you to question your own sanity. And this is a matter of knowing who you are in Christ Jesus. And this is also the purpose of the P.O.C. People that have been tricked in and manipulated into questioning their own sanity. And that has very dangerous and unfortunate tragic consequences as well. You might even check yourself into a facility and agree to taking prescription drugs, and there is nothing wrong with you, and that's exactly where Satan wants you. Okay, and that's unfortunate, but this is the reality of what is spiritual warfare, and it's the reality of what is the demon possessed who are actually mentally ill, who actually pose based on their behavioral health concerns that are manifest, okay, including corrupt companies like Simba, who are gang stalking, and then those psychopaths will come back the next day and act like nothing happened. That's psychopathic, and this is also why you document. There's a whole body of evidence. So while they engage in, you do it if you want to. I'm going to prosecute you with the bigger picture. And the federal government is sitting back watching, okay, and taking into context and understanding what it is that I've been stating at the outset before I even started capturing video. And I knew when I was capturing, there was a point where I knew this is too rich. What I'm describing, yes, I'm doing my job, but you have to see it. And that's what I know. You have to see what I'm talking about in order to fully appreciate everything. And also a corrupt government is also going to, I would say, supersede, and that's injustice, but the federal government is also not going to be inclined to listen to the target individual, but for having such a level of evidence that you cannot deny. So it's just a matter of, and that's unfortunate and it's sad, and that's why my heart goes out to, I understand the position of even those, even those that are, that have imperfect backgrounds, say gang stalking, targeting by a bunch of demons that call themselves the police department, and they use these same tactics. They're targeting those that are part, in the 90s, the Bloods and the Crips, gang members, things that have been brought to my attention on the internet, but you're able to see the pattern of conduct that's been underway. Let me be clear, this is not about technology. The demon-possessed Satan has been around for a long time. Okay, so this demonic environment, you're able to look back on what's been going on for a long time and see that this is not law enforcement and corrupt gang stalking, this oxymoron. But like I stated before, it's a matter of being responsible and not giving terrorists the same vocabulary terms, the same acknowledgement as what are legitimate law enforcement. Okay, law enforcement is not stalking. Okay, and so this is why I find it to be irresponsible to even engage in any sort of public discourse and giving them that sort of acknowledgement. And I'm going to state that at the outset. And you are adding to harm when you give them that sort of acknowledgement. You're adding to the harm. Okay, but like I said, back in the 90s, harassing those that are a part of gangs like the Bloods and the Crips, and you will the entity that's been engaged in targeting in the way that I've shown, they just get away with it because they're gang members, and nobody's questioning about the impropriety about what the police department were doing because they're already assumed to be on the right side of the law, and they're already the Bloods and the Crips are already assumed to be the criminals and the person on the wrong side of the law because of their identity, because of their gang affiliation, if you will. It does not make it law enforcement. That it under no circumstances does the identity, does the they're American citizens, and law enforcement has its proper use. The executive branch, yes, it's needed in a civilized society, but gang stalking, which what police departments are doing, law enforcement is doing, that's not law enforcement. And this is what has been used against those, for example, and the people that have been murdered behind corrupt gang stalking police departments. It's something that, I mean, it's not even going to be spoken of, but it's something that perhaps the federal government can look back and you'll know what happened. You'll know what happened. But this is something that's been it's non-spoken, and it's not law enforcement, it's corruption that it's enabled through the corrupt courts that are targeting, okay, through the people of the state who are seemingly on the surface expressing their freedom of speech. They're facilitating this system of surveillance. And by the way, they're demons. There are those that are genuinely ignorant, okay? Genuinely ignorant, meaning you are facilitating a whole satanic system of surveillance, and you're just doing so because you think you're free to be a rebel and support. And under the Constitution, you are free to be rebellious as you are. But in other words, the bigger picture is that you don't even understand how you are facilitating a whole satanic agenda, which is serving to torture people, murder people, enslave people, target people. And you're ignorant about that while you're just exercising your so-called freedom of speech rights in this country. You have no idea what's going on. No idea. There are those that are genuinely ignorant, but the greater is those that are facilitating a system of surveillance, and it's built on exploiting the Constitution. Surveillance is underway through social media, on the internet, where freedom of speech is the guise under which facilitation of this pattern of conduct is underway. And the entity is engaging in enabling corrupt police practices where gang members that have a constitutional right to not be targeted as well. So it's not okay because they happen to be a part of this. I mean, this is so 1990s, but Crips and Bloods and Crips, and I'm not advocating for any of that, but I do advocate for their constitutional rights. Being a Crip in and of itself, until they violate a law, and you're on the right side of the law, meaning you're engaged in law enforcement, not surveillance, not stalking, not harassing as a demonic entity, calling yourself a police department, harassing them because they're gang members, and nobody's going to question what you're doing to those gang members. Nobody's going to question that. You can get away with just abusing them and harassing them anytime for any purpose. This is what has been going on for years now. It takes somebody, and this is also what's tragic, because it takes somebody like myself. They had to make up criminal activity. They had to make it up. Okay. And even what they made up still does not make any sense on its surface. Now, why does it get past that muster? Because this is all helping you understand what is necessarily a corrupt system. It's not just that police department. The sheriff's department has to be corrupt as well. It's not just that sheriff's department, but the court has to be corrupt to let that level of that's not an oversight. That's not an accident. And in addition to that, I conducted my own thorough investigation, and I showed you the proof that the court is a gang stalker. The sheriff's department is a gang stalker. They're demons. They're stalking. They're monitoring. It's public corruption. They are acting with the people of the state. You already know with these gang stalking police officers, that's the forefront. That's where they get you into the system. You already know that. So I'm not even going to go through that. But it shows you how there is no possible coincidence. And it goes from these gang stalking, non-English speaking immigrants who are in my country engaging in un-American criminal conduct with what's supposed to be my government. The ultimate betrayal with my family, my friends, my community. The ultimate betrayal. Okay, I want to be clear. I'm speaking to what is actually patriotism, what's actually American. I do take issue when you are in my country, just like if I was in France and I can't even speak your language, but I have the nerve to be out there targeting you. Are you kidding me? Yes, kick them out. Kick them out and do it publicly. And make sure they can never come back. Okay, the entity is engaging in this level of betrayal, and it is absurd how insulting it is. And it comes down to how obsessed they are. That's what you're paying attention to. We are beyond the question of whether the state of California, the city of Ontario, the demons that have defamed my character behind, they're all envious. They're obsessed with my genitalia. Incestuous family members. And how? Because it's a spirit. They're demons. My brother is obsessed with my genitalia. He's a demon. My mother is obsessed with my genitalia. She's a demon. Okay, she married sex offenders just like her. Tommy Allen Banks, obsessed with my genitalia. He also literally has physical evidence of it. He's got a conviction as a sex offender. But those that don't have yet a physical record to show that is relevant to the rest of the world so that you can identify them, which is the purpose of a prosecution for gang stalking that's committed as a public entity, so that the American public are on guard, so that you are aware. Okay, because they're walking around with masks. They're demons. That demon possession, that public corruption is essentially invisible. And it's my goal, and it's the purpose of the P.O.C, the evidence of the pattern of conduct that a corrupt government is engaging in the United States of America. Okay, how that level of a threat is a threat, a comprehensive threat to your life, to your well-being, to your liberty. Okay, to your ability to the quote unquote American dream. That's an illusion as well, because in the United States, surveillance is underway. And those that do all the right things, I want to be clear, I quote unquote did all the right things. I went to college. I financed my own education on my excellent credit. None of these demons helped me do that. I went to law school, got the appropriate training, and have an excellent employment record. I've never been fired. The only time I was fired was when I reported to the people of the state, the Human Resources Department, that I was being targeted, harassed by the people of the state that I was working with in Orange County, that you already know is engaged in gang stalking in the fake sun. But this is the corrupt company Mobility in Costa Mesa, California. And as I report them to Human Resources, which are the people of the state, where I'm being gang stalked, just like LAPD shows you with speaker companies in Los Angeles, California, all right, they are targeting, and that's the first time I've ever been relieved from my position. And that was an unlawful act, okay? There's employment law, and this is only when you're dealing with them under laws that exist, okay? Being relieved from a job for bad cause, such as reporting, targeting, or harassment rather, and abuse in the workplace, that's bad cause. And and that's a basis for what is litigation for me to prosecute. But you're not going to, the entity's engaged in an ongoing pattern of obstruction of justice. So I'm always looking at the bigger picture. I do find it to be a waste of time to go through that administrative process just for them to find, because that's exactly what's going to happen, and I've already proven it. How can you say, well, you don't know and you didn't do that? I do know that. I already went through and prosecuted the pattern of conduct of obstruction of justice through the corrupt states, the San Bernardino Superior Court, the evasion of service of process. It is published on the venue of the internet on the website. This is the P.O.C.wordpress.com. How are you blatantly evading service of process? By denying me the fundamental right to freedom of speech, by just not providing service of process. That's how they do that. And this is a pattern of conduct by the state. It was affirmed by the appellate level, affirmed by the California Supreme Court, a fundamental basis. There is no argument to support not providing service of process, in case you did not know that. The entity is doing that to engage in what is obstruction of justice. And what it is that I'm arguing and seeking to enforce my right about? Oh, the fact that the government, the state government, has no immunity to being prosecuted in civil court for targeting. And this is what the entity knows it's engaged in, and went to the furthest extent in California, the California Supreme Court, to evade service of process. That's a criminal act of obstruction of justice, because the pattern of conduct is underway. The context of gang stalking changes everything. It changes everything. All right, so that's how I know it's a waste of time. It's fruitless, especially when I'm subject to a pattern of harassment from job to job. Okay, fresh out of passing the California bar, going into the practice of law, and then just being subject to inexplicable acts of harassment. I'm new on the job. And I'm not going to be a crybaby, but then at the same time, it's like, okay, I should not be exposed to this level of harassment. I don't even understand what is this like veiled hostility and aggression about, because they're demons. They're demons. They're demons. And they were engaged in an entire pattern of conduct that started where I was working, especially as the demons are very much envious of my accomplishments, my professional accomplishments, which again, the documentation will show the envious pedophile Tracy Banks has gone to the extent to state, I'm not a lawyer. That's envy coming out of her. That audible activity is exposing envy. Okay, and I want to be clear, while the envy has gone to the extent far back as they can, where nobody, no childhood friend has ever experience any sort of behavior on my part exhibiting any mental illness. I have been the most loyal, probably too loyal, to the people in my background, okay? But the entity goes to that extent to get them to recruit the people of the state. And I want to be, anybody that engaged in defaming my character, be ready to go to federal prison. But nonetheless, the entity wants to use that route to what is the use of property that belongs to me. Okay, they're simultaneously gang stalking. These are demon-possessed people who are envious, who are mentally sick, who are hostile. They're mad at themselves because they're so obsessed with me. That's not my problem either. These are people that hate themselves, and they are also demonic, and their criminal activity is also demonic. But these are the elaborate and intricate psychological issues and emotional dysfunction of those that are gang stalking, the demon-possessed that are gang stalking. Now, those that are doing so, they're recruiting a whole secret group of people that I haven't talked to in 15 years, or I haven't talked to in 5 years, or I haven't talked to in 2 years, however long ago, or we went to 7th grade, 5th grade, 4th grade together, however far back. But you know what they're not going to do? They weren't talking to anybody that was, I went to law school, anything that would add to what is clearly not the evidence of mental illness. Getting through law school and financing that on my own, taking care of myself, the entity that's engaged in what is necessarily defaming your character and doing so, staying far away from anything that would include things like the demon Tracy Banks wants to totally disregard. Oh no, you're not a lawyer. Actually, I went to law school, and you don't ever lose that. Even though they stole my Juris Doctor, the actual plaque that I stole, that they stole from me in my vehicle, where the Ontario Police Department stole my car in 2019. They stole that. It was inside of my vehicle, amongst everything else that I earned that I owned that can't be replaced. replaceable and irreplaceable things. This same Ontario Police Department that's going to be disbanded, that's still gang stalking in 2025. Again, envious demons like Tracy Banks who would like to just wipe that out of history. Don't remember that part. You're not a lawyer, but we're going to go back to people that I haven't talked to in years that have, first of all, there was never any evidence. To the contrary, there are things that my childhood friends engaged in that I never judged them. I just was a loving friend. We were childhood friends, and I did not judge them, but them engaging in what is acting with Tracy Banks, acting with Jason Isaac Fields, acting with Eric Spencer, acting with the corrupt court that's gang stalking, they're doing so for purposes of engaging in what is a means of targeting by the state. That's going to be an obvious basis for changing the way that the laws are currently existing, where you can manufacture, just make up information. That is unconstitutional legislation that needs to change. Okay, but nonetheless, the entity is seeking to artificially engineer mental illness and doing so, but they are necessarily just removing from the history the fact that I am supporting myself throughout law school, supporting myself while I am financing my education and figuring out a way from being around these demons in Southern California to going to Florida and financing my education. All of these things that don't support what the entity sought to manufacture in order to establish what is a fake case of mental illness behind a secret conservatorship regarding property that was never disclosed to me, that belongs to me, that a bunch of demons who are envious of me want ownership of. These are not people that actually believe that they're better than me. These are people that want to be me. Okay, and they want to be me in ways in which I'm not even aware of. I have always had a desire for more, to travel, to get out of the quote unquote hood, and to not be amongst them. These are people that have been thieves, criminals their whole life. Unbeknownst to me, this is also relevant to my character. The fact that you hide that you're a criminal from me is speaking to who you know that I am and who you know that I'm not. That's why I didn't know that you were a petty thief. Okay, that's why I didn't know that you were engaged in the sexual wiles that you practice while you want to defame my character behind my back, but you didn't tell me that you were a prostitute. I didn't know that. Okay, now that's not anything that I probably would have condemned them for, but it might have had an impact on our relationship if I didn't know that they were engaged in prostitution, all right, or that they were even engaged in witchcraft and worshiping Satan. Now that I'm not a little kid anymore, so as an adult and I am a disciple of Christ, that would absolutely have an effect on my relationship. There's a reason why the same demons that are necessarily secretly seeking to defame my character behind my back to steal property that belongs to me, that they're not getting, by the way, that belongs to me, kept aspects of their life as secret from me, including the fact that they're gang stalkers, that they're demons. They kept that from me. But these are the same people that are necessarily leaving out whole chunks of my life that don't support the narrative, the false narrative that a bunch of gang stalkers are trying to manufacture. All right, this is relevant to what is targeting by a corrupt government. And those that are all the ways in which the entity not only gang stalking, but conspiring against you to steal from you, to falsely depict your character. In other words, it's not going to be by rumors and by hearsay and by in other words, the testimony of another is insufficient to result in what is kidnapping another, but keeping someone else against their will. Stealing property or taking property against the desires, against the will of another, of that property owner. It is insufficient to just have somebody else sort of bear witness about something that's derogatory or unhelpful or in conformity to what a statute requires in order to do so. That is insufficient and it's unconstitutional, especially where gang stalking is engaging in satisfying that same statute. All right, that's what is necessitating that the laws change. Okay, this is what these demons sought to do. All right, and there you can see as the way that I am prosecuting the government by myself, being targeted by the government, and having no help. There's no friend, and there was no friend, and I want to be clear, there is no friend now. The entity that is providing any sort of information to the federal government is doing it after they realize that they failed in targeting me. And there is not only a physical consequence for it, you need to understand those that are walking with Christ Jesus like myself, those that are who Satan is coming against, understand that the battle is not yours, it is the Lord's, and the Lord is going to come for them. And these demons know exactly what is coming for them when they use witchcraft, when they use voodoo, black magic, their rituals, their whatever it is that they use. They are fearful of what they already know is coming for them because it doesn't work against me. And I am, I just want to be clear, who am I? I am nothing other than a child in Christ, okay? It's covered by the blood of Jesus Christ. He is my Lord and Savior, and the battle is not mine. They came for God himself. Nobody can stand before him. No one can stand beside him. Satan himself, a created being, is no competition. You're no formidable adversary, and this is also why Satan is obsessed with me, okay? A child of God. This is how you have the demon-possessed gang stalking you, with the spirit of Satan on them. This is just giving you spiritual context. Okay, and that goes into what is a physical prosecution with tangible evidence. Okay, but I want to be clear, that's not a friend of mine. They're not a friend of mine. If you were a friend of mine, if you have any reasonable basis to ever anticipate having a relationship with me in the future, us reconciling, you would have never been engaged in this pattern of conduct in the first place. There will be no reconciliation with anyone that had anything to do with targeting me. That has nothing to do with what is forgiveness, which I'm required in Christ. That's not a question. I'm not concerned, do I sound like somebody that's bitter? I'm not. I praise God every day for giving me the words to protect myself and prove what the government tried to do to me. They literally wanted me to be found in a dumpster somewhere and delivering the news about me being homeless and a drug addict, a prostitute, and that's why I'm dead. Nothing to see here, folks. Move on to the next story. And they live the rest of their lives in my money, in my property. That's what these demons conspired. And it's government action. The government had a stake in my property. That's what they planned. But God, okay? He had other plans for me. And there is no work of witchcraft, no demon in hell that can rebut it or counter it or stop it. Okay? They also think they can slow down. You're not slowing down anything. And you are not a friend of mine. This is what I'm stating. That doesn't mean that I don't forgive you, but I don't owe you or any of them anything at all. And there will be no reconciliation. There's going to be laws to make sure that you never come into my presence. That's what happens when you engage in targeting someone. You are delusional, thinking that anything else is going to happen. It's not going to happen. All right? This is an entity that is, again, severely mentally ill. All of these, this demonic activity, engaging in what is sex rituals, you need to understand it impacts the psyche. These are people that are not sane. And the delusional conduct that, for example, Tracy Banks exhibits, and it's going to be used against her in federal court, what she's stating to one person, what she's stating to another, what she's stating to her co-conspirators, what she's stating to me when I'm documenting her, what she's stating when she thinks no one is paying attention, that no one knows. This is going to be used to diagnose and prosecute her. This is the same entity that's very much mentally sick. And that is also a basis to bar documented terrorists. If I've already documented you, you will not be in my presence at all. You represent a threat, and I am not going to forfeit my rights to make sure that you are barred from ever coming into my presence. And this is what is going to happen when a government is targeting you. You maintain a right just like you would with traditional stalking, something analogous to like some sort of order where the entity is, excuse me, not the entity, a stalker is barred from coming around you for a certain amount of time or any radius of something of that matter. It's at a whole other level. It's escalated because the government is engaged in targeting you through the people of the state. And we're going to start with those that are never permitted to be on my property or around me. And I would make it clear under some sort of legal action that I would consent to it or waive that right, but I'm not, okay? There is absolutely no third party or state actor that has had any part in targeting me, taking my life, conspiring to take my life, stealing my property, stealing my money, delaying justice, defaming my name, okay? That has any sort of future prospects with me at all. So I've stated that on more than one occasion. Mental illness, you will witness all the manifestations of mental illness, those that are delusional to that end. I'm not going to come back and say, haha, just kidding. It's not going to happen. These are the demon possessed, and this is just speaking to the testimony of Christ Jesus and all the ways in which Satan, who is a thief and a robber, he comes not to do anything other than to kill, steal, and destroy. And you're going to witness that demise of those that in service of Satan, the promise of material things that Satan can't even deliver on. He can't even deliver on it, okay? This is P.O.C. Let me go ahead and show you the entities. I'm standing at the sink right now, and this is, again, yeah, crossing path, the same demon, license 3MBP997, gang stalking while I'm at a distance inside of the hotel room. And let me show you the impossible light inside of the hotel room while she is indeed targeting. That pattern of conduct is remaining underway. This is where the fake sun is present, and this is where stalking with light is underway. It's going to be the prosecution of the kidnappers who are going to federal prison. This is impossible light. I'm going to go ahead and capture it. This is the entity that is, again, what is this demon? She represents the demons that are listening to me state things like, you're never going to be in my presence, or you're not. All right, these are demons that are stalking. I'm going to show you what is my shadow that's appearing in the shade while you're focused on the trash can. That's activity creation while they are stalking together. And these are the demons that are never going to be permitted in my presence, okay? You're looking at them using the bodies of homeless people, the bodies of the gang stalking housekeepers. It's the same demon possession of those like Jason Isaac Fields, who will never be permitted under the law to ever be in my presence. Every time I'm documenting their co-defendant, Jason Isaac Fields, I'm subject to more terrorism inside of this hotel room. Every time I'm documenting their co-defendant, the same demonic entity, Tracy Banks, I'm subject to more terrorism inside of this hotel room, including by the state directly. That's very much interested in every detail that I expose about the same demonic entity. Alan D. Wapner's engagement in everything that I'm documenting is proven through the targeting with commercial planes over my hotel room, okay? The entities engaging in the pattern of conduct, and the same demons who are stalking in impossible light right now as I open the door under a shaded structure, okay, and the demons engage in such psychopathic means, which is exactly what is going to be the provision of federal laws to keep documented terrorists and sex offenders like Tracy Banks and her sex partner, Jason Isaac Fields, Eric Spencer, all of whom belong in federal prison in the first place. Okay, they're headed for federal prison. And federal law is going to further protect these actors within the public entity gang stalking in the psychopathic manners that continuously are underway. Jason Isaac Fields doesn't have to be physically on the grounds of the hotel to engage in targeting as an entity. Understand that these are demons. Okay, and by the way, I've also documented him gang stalking. For me to have his phone number, his latest address in 2018, he was targeting me well before I started documenting. He was targeting while he was having sex with my mom the whole time and not telling me about it, while he was thinking that he was going to benefit. In any ways that he's benefited, he's losing it. If you got a job from gang stalking me, and you're losing that job. If you thought that you were going to target, steal my property and defame my character, you're going to federal prison. Like I said, Satan cannot deliver. You're not going to get what Satan has promised you, and all that witchcraft is going to return to you. And not only that, you're not keeping what you thought. You're not keeping that. Satan cannot deliver. He doesn't have the authority to. Okay? And this is, again, as the entity is gang stalking immigrants are more obsessed with me than concerned with the fact that they're being deported. And then they're going to be in court with their babies like somebody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Okay? The entities engage in gang stalking, and the demons engage in the bidding of each other. So while I document Alan D. Wapner, while I'm inside of Tracy Banks' apartment, impossible light activity 20 plus times. Don't forget what I documented inside of her apartment. Engineer light scanning across her ceiling 20 to 25 times as I'm documenting Alan D. Wapner, and the demons are hostile to that. The same pattern of conduct. This is what the entity does when you are referring to those who are of the same kingdom of darkness, the demon possessed that are engaged in criminal conduct that's no longer a secret. All right, this is a population of sex offenders, a population of terrorists who are hostile because the law is going to bar them from ever being in my presence. Their mental illness, their addiction, their obsession with me, and their criminal conduct, their methods of targeting me is exactly why they will never, ever be permitted in my presence. And this is what the law is going to support any American citizen in doing when you are proven to be targeted by the government in the way in which I have shown, okay? And it's directly relevant. What you just witnessed me documenting, it's directly relevant to the terrorists like Jason Isaac Fields that are going to be barred from my presence. These demons know who they are, and they are psychopaths. They are also very mentally sick, delusional, thinking that there will be any basis, there's not going to be any provision for, nor do I owe any gang stalker, any sex offender, any criminal, any thief, anything, any conversation, any presence. You're literally gang stalking me you're not coming, it's not going to happen. Understand what I'm talking about, and the entity that's gang stalking with this level of desperation and obsession. In other words, obviously criminal conduct. It's directly relevant to what the demons are listening to me state about them. Okay, and this is exactly why demons like Jason Isaac Fields, very severely mentally ill,
And it is also proven through all of the dysfunctions when you examine his life and the things that he's done, his background, and the things that he's committed against me. What he thought he was going to accomplish and the way that he thought that he was going to accomplish it, like group sex, homosexuality, having sex with my mother, having sex with fake friends of mine. This is how this demon thought. This is, again, mental illness that is manifest through the behavior of those that are obsessed with me and stalking me and monitoring me. He will never be in my presence, okay? And this is the documented terrorist, and that's how any documented terrorist, especially those whose name you know, are going to be treated under federal law. And it's directly relevant to what I'm documenting and the entity engaging in what is stalking by crossing path, like I captured on video. Okay, she's at the opposite end of the hotel, and the impossible maintenance of what is sensational activity. Sensational activity is the hard evidence of targeting by a demon who is gang stalking. That's immediately exposing the government, every level of government, and everybody in that city, wherever you're at. I'm in the city of Ontario. The city of Ontario is exposed as a gang stalker. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and capture the fake sun as well. It's P.O.C. It's currently, by the way, 2:51 p.m. The fake sun is right over my hotel room where this demon is crossing path, gang stalking, 45 rooms. She's engaging in the pattern of conduct by engaging in surveillance through what is the housekeeping at what is a hotel that they don't even keep up to par, okay? All she's doing is pacing all day, and she's doing so while she's keeping me under surveillance and keeping my vagina under surveillance. You need to understand that sexual violence, sex offenders are not only males. Okay, Tracy Banks is literally the template for understanding sexual violence, pedophilia, those that are sexually interested in children. This is a sex offender that's engaging in what is housekeeping while she's engaged in the feds are watching her gang stalking. The feds are watching my documentation. The feds are listening to every detail, and they're also looking at what the demon possessed are doing, and they're simultaneously aware of what the government is engaging in, while unintelligent demons like this housekeeper, license 9 MBP 997, is engaging in, while hostile demons who don't have any self-control, as I identify demons like Jason Isaac Fields who are never coming into my presence, which no American citizen, you've been gang stalked, you don't know any demon anything. You don't know them anything, okay? So they're delusional. Their mental illness is always exposed while they're targeting, and they're hostile while you do not, under any circumstances, return the favor, okay? You enforce your rights. Those are demons, that maniacal spirit that is acting in people that are obsessively stalking you, okay? It is currently, again, 2:53 p.m. The demon possessed, again, targeting by dragging the trash can on the east side of my room, and the demon, the housekeeper, targeting by crossing in the path on the west side of my room, and they're doing so while the fake sun is over me. This is what you'll see in the images as I'm narrating in real time, and everything that I'm discussing, everything that I'm doing, including my genitalia, which these sex offenders are obsessed with. This is the Jezebel spirit that also thinks that they're going to kidnap you, that they're going to force you to do anything. Again, this is the federal government that's going to put them in the appropriate facilities. And this is, again, what you are going to witness. Satan is nothing but he's a destroyer. He comes to kill, steal, and destroy. And the people of the state have forfeited their ability to ever be in my life under any circumstances whatsoever, as I am prosecuting them for gang stalking me with the state of California. It is currently 2:54 p.m. On July 25th, 2025, the fake sun is remaining at Economy Inn over me at Economy Inn at 2:54 p.m., where the whole population is shown to be obsessively stalking in the very demented ways, such as showing under a fake sun in engineered light that manifests in the shade. And everything that they're doing is affecting me inside of my hotel room, which is also speaking to demons that are obsessively targeting you, while their criminal acts of monitoring are underway inside of a hotel room, which is the conduct of an admitted sex offender. This is the government that's an admitted sex offender in every aspect of the entity that is engaging in that pattern of conduct, okay? So I do also want to go ahead and, let me go ahead and get some license plates while I'm at it. All right, I documented on video already the demon that you'll see pacing in and out of her room to the black vehicle at the corner of the property. You can see that. And this is a psychopath who is gang stalking and just going about her business she's going about her business of obsessively stalking me. All right, that's the same housekeeper stalking with the method of noise. License 9EKC 937. She is gang stalking in room number 224, which is surrounded with engineered light. Okay, she is gang stalking with the housekeeper as well, doing so while she is pacing in and out of her hotel room. In doing so, this is the same circumstances in the morning, the same circumstances on the first floor of the hotel, the same circumstances. And when I'm referring to the morning, I'm just referring to the fake sun doesn't go anywhere, neither does the engineered light, and it's the same circumstance at nightfall. I show you multiple shadows at night. That's not the product of standing under a street lamp. These are demons whose stalking system is fully exposed, and their obsession with me is also fully exposed, okay? License plate. Nonetheless,
9EKC937, 8EDV437, license plates. And I read Simba. Simba's gang stalking at the venue. Simba's here under the guise of housing services. These are demons that use their company and state that they are one that is associated with faith-based services. Faith-based services. I want to be clear, those that serve Satan, it's a type of faith as well. So they're not necessarily lying, but they want their faith to be associated with things like Christ Jesus, and they are not. They are engaged in satanic and criminal conduct. While I'm being targeted with impossible, sensational activity with the gang stalking venue, the same conduct with the demons that are stalking now. This is exactly what Simba was engaging in. While you're outside walking in any direction, you're not going to cause any sort of earthquake inside of my hotel room. Those are demons that are obsessed with me. Okay, they are engaged in what is obsession through the absurdly and extreme and far-fetched methods of targeting. While you're walking by, oh, it's affecting me inside of my hotel room. That's a demon, that's a stalker. License DZ48B36, that's paper. License 4VWB161. And these demons are all stalking together. License N07U LV, that's a Nevada plate. N07U. Crossing state lines to engage in the pattern of conduct is relevant also to the federal statute, and the entity that is gang stalking this demon doesn't work at the venue. He's engaged in gang stalking by dragging the trash can up and down the stairs. Coincidentally, while I have an earthquake inside of my hotel room, and while the demon that works at the venue is crossing path, and they're all doing that in the engineer light that's underneath the shaded structure, because the purpose is stalking with engineer light. License 4VWB161, 20348T2, 5AMV693. Everything that you're hearing is pursuant to what is activity creation while I'm walking. This is, again, speaking to thousands of people that are on the 60 freeway, the entity that the government, the demon-possessed population that are stalking on the roads and the highways. This is relevant to federal stalking statute, 18 U.S.C. section 22618, subsections 1 and 2. License 3TBG137, 5TRX296, EF22C70, and the entity is engaging, this is the demon that is maintaining presence in the path, just like she was yesterday at 4 p.m. under the fake sun. And the entity is doing so. Let me show you the entity that's gang stalking by helicopter. This is, again, Mike LORENZ that they have no interest in maintaining legitimacy. This is the entity that's gang stalking. They don't help the people of the state, they incriminate them. This is what the entity is doing under the fake sun at 7:16 a.m., flying over my head in a helicopter with a yellow underbelly, while the fake sun is over the same address, 2301 South Euclid Avenue at Economy Inn. And this is where the entity engaged in kidnapping with that same Ontario Police Department on September 25th, 2020. And this is relevant to the gang stalking conduct. This demon's in room number 244. She's engaged in federal stalking with the Ontario Police Department. And so is, again, Simba. Don't forget what Simba's doing, gang stalking with the City of Ontario, and doing so in the specific environment. She's stalking in the path in this room, monitoring together while they are engaging in that pattern of conduct. The entity that's gang stalked by helicopter does so while the fake sun remains over me as I move at the venue. This is where it's at 9:30 in the morning, by the way. This is the room where I was at before. Okay, this is the entity with the engineer light all over the ceiling inside. And this is what you're listening on podcast, and I'm also capturing video at the same time while the entity is gang stalking by helicopter. This is state surveillance that is underway on the roads and the highways by the people of the state. Massive surveillance. Tracy Banks, Jason Hutterfield are going to federal prison, and these are the domestic terrorists that will never be permitted to ever be in my presence, okay, as after I prosecute. Okay, license 9GTT454. This is a gang stalking employee at the venue. The entity is gang stalking by maintenance of that specific environment mobile at 2315 South Euclid Avenue is gang stalking. And this is the entity that is maintaining a fake sun. You need to understand that's a demon flying a helicopter over my head. And that's supposed to be the antiquated method of deterring justice, deterring documentation. And this is what it is it's evidence of gang stalking by the government. That's acting through a corrupt population, and they're all demons. Okay, this isn't traffic that's ignorantly underway. It's traffic of the City of Ontario, Paul Leon, Mike LORENZ, Michael GERKEN, American Medical Response is gang stalking, and L&D WAPNER is gang stalking while the entity uses commercial planes under the fake sun, while the entity is engaged in gang stalking. That's what the African American female was doing, stalking in the path. The entity did it by doing so by helicopter, and it incriminates the people of the state. You're a psychopath while you're gang stalking as what's supposed to be the anonymity of being a stranger. You're not a stranger in the specific environment. This is P.O.C. All right, and this is the entity, the gang stalking that's underway on September 25th, 2020, where they committed kidnapping. This isn't sunlight where the fake sun is here at 9 o'clock in the morning. This is engineer light, direct evidence of surveillance with the government that flew over my helicopter. And this is the fake sun that's moving as I move. The entity is keeping this fake sun as I'm documenting on an ongoing basis, okay? So I just want to be clear, every single last person in all the hotel rooms are engaging in surveillance. All right, this is pacing while they're walking up here, walking in the parking lot, crossing paths in the hotel rooms, every single one. These are demons that are gang stalking. And every license plate that I'm documenting are sharing their surveillance with the city of Ontario. And the entity that is engaging in kidnapping at Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue, where there could not possibly be a sign over Starbucks like I documented at 7:15 in the morning until after 7 p.m. in the evening, where the demon possessor are gang stalking through the corrupt business practices of what Starbucks engages in under federal RICO laws. They're going to federal prison, just like the gang stalking immigrants at Economy Inn, where the entity provides evidence against the people of the state who are going to prison for kidnapping in concert with that corrupt government that relies on the criminal presence in the path in the specific environment where a bunch of demons are monitoring your genitalia in private spaces like hotel rooms and in bathrooms, all right, and where you live. This is P.O.C. It's currently 3:01 p.m. Alrighty, it is like I just stated, it's 3:01 p.m. and I'm capturing the entity that is stalking by helicopter. Black helicopter flies right over, and remember, it does so as I am capturing the license plates of the people of the state that are gang stalking with the city of Ontario. The Caucasian female, she's in room number 244, like I documented. She's doing so on behalf of the city of Ontario. That's gang stalking, and using things like helicopters is not going to stop justice. It's going to disband the Ontario police. Okay, but I want to make sure I'm including on video as well. You heard me recite the license plate. EF22C70 is a paper plate. All right, and these demons are outside of their rooms pacing, making sure that they're manning the path on behalf of the gang stalking housekeeper. Again, her license is 8MBP997. Let me get this license plate over here. And Mobile Gas, the business, the establishment, is gang stalking. All right, this is the entity that's very foolish and has no, they don't have any intention of defending themselves in court. So they're just engaged in targeting, and they don't have any other plan. And they provide ongoing evidence, proof that they are stalkers while they engage in things such as stalking under the fake sun in conformity to a long documented pattern of conduct. License, hold on. License 9GTG675. All right, and I'm going to show you while I stand across facing my hotel room, the fake sun that's no longer over the roof like it is on video, like I just documented, showing you that the entity, again, another vantage point showing you the government that's stalking in things such as planes and helicopters, exposing obsession with me, an obsession, that same Jezebel spirit. The government's obsessed with my genitalia. The government is a sex offender, and the government just provides evidence against all the gang stalkers that are staying at the hotel, including working at the hotel. It's the federal RICO case against corrupt establishments, corrupt businesses like Simba, corrupt governments like the city of Ontario, corrupt businesses like Starbucks, okay, who are, remember, L. Edwards, that's federal prison. Alex Escobar, that's federal prison. Kidnapping on July 4, 2025, pursuant to gang stalking like the Ontario Police Department are doing here at Economy Inn, just like they were on September 25, 2020, which is what things like Tracy Banks and Jason Fields relied on, gang stalking me with the Ontario Police to then falsely depict my character as one being mentally ill when they're gang stalking and their mental illness is put at the forefront. That's why Tracy Banks and Jason Fields are going to federal prison, okay? And they are doing so while the entity is providing ongoing evidence in real time in what is already a lost case. They already lost. I've already prosecuted beyond a reasonable doubt, by the way, through my investigation that is already complete and it's published all over the internet for everyone to witness, okay? The fake sun is showing you that the police department is stalking me specifically because there's not possibly any sun in Monrovia, California on this day in 2024 where the Ontario police are gang stalking, just like Alan San Victoris of the Monrovia Police Department are gang stalking as I'm documenting a fake sun from morning until evening, specifically at Myrtle and Huntington at that hotel over me where I'm documenting the Monrovia Police Department gang stalking by helicopter as well. This is the entity that provides that level of evidence when you document them, and I'm going to continue to document because you're going to be disbanded where you engage in kidnapping like the Ontario Police Department has, okay? This is P.O.C. Housekeeping is happening under the fake sun, all right? The entity that's engaging in housekeeping is doing so on behalf of the police department that's going to be no protection from being deported for domestic terrorism. It is actually confirming why you will be deported, okay? This is P.O.C. The entity is 45 rooms, and the entity is maintaining occupancy in those rooms with regard to criminal surveillance, and that's an unlawful threat that, again, these gang stalkers, these kidnappers from 2020 are posing with the United States government, gang stalking me. They committed kidnapping on September 25th as an entity, a bunch of hostile demons, and then they committed kidnapping because they're hostile to being documented as the maniacal psychopaths that they are. Understand, they're mad at me because they're obsessed with me, and you're mad at me because of that. That's the entity that's engaged in gang stalking. All right, you'll see my shadow appearing in the shade on the hotel doors, where all these demons are gang stalking with the police department that flew over my head that I captured on video right now under the fake sun. This is the same fake sun that's in the same position at in the morning, like I'm documenting, from 7 until 7 p.m. Coming out of their hotel rooms and going into their vehicles, like this third party license plate for VWB 161, gang stalking with the Ontario Police Department, and doing so for a prolonged period, okay? Stalking as a gang stalking patron, just like inside a Starbucks, stalking as a gang stalking customer. While they're buying their coffee, they're engaging in surveillance, sitting in that Starbucks cafe where the fake sun stays there all day long. And it also stays with regard to the impossible light activity inside of Starbucks, which is exactly what's happening inside of the hotel rooms at Economy, and it's the pattern of conduct. There's sex offenders while they're monitoring in hotel rooms and in the bathroom in hotel rooms, okay? The demons that have engineer light on the shade on room number 233, opening and closing their door with regard to what is activity creation, okay? This is P.O.C. And the gang stalking immigrants monitoring with the Ontario police are going to be subject to deportation like every other gang stalker. All right, this is the pattern of conduct, and the entity is maintaining criminal presence at this venue with regard to the conduct of the entity that's doing so in the specific environment. A bunch of sex offenders pay for hotel rooms to engage in the P.O.C, and they're checking in and out, driving in and out on the property in engineered light under a fake sun. All right, and this is shared with what I'm documenting on this day in 2024. This time of year, I have left Alvarado Gardens, and the police departments are stalking in the same manner that LAPD is, and that I documented, in the same manner that the Ontario Police Department is, under the fake sun that's remaining over me as I go from city to city, which is not the natural environment. Clearly, as you're seeing the fake sun that's not moving over Economy Inn, it's also not going to be anywhere in Monrovia, California, over Town Place Suites by Marriott, at the intersection of Huntington and Myrtle, under any circumstances to be creating any sunlight over that hotel, or over inside of my hotel room, or in the hallway where I'm showing you impossible light across the ceiling, while the people of the state, the same entity that's gang stalking on the 60 freeway, is gang stalking on the roads and the highways around that hotel, and impossible light coexists with their crossing a path, where a bunch of demons are engaging in state surveillance, and then they engage in the highly outdated method of obstruction of justice. Because that's what it is. It's not stopping, it's accelerating your prosecution and your removal from position, Mike LORENZ. It is the stalking by the government that uses extreme things such as helicopters, and we're not in Afghanistan. And so since you are so psychopathic to engage in such methods of targeting someone, that is also exposing you. You will be removed from office, and you are going to be removed from law enforcement. You're not going to another law enforcement agency in any other state, any other jurisdiction in the United States. You're done with law enforcement since you are engaged in domestic terrorism, terrorism in this country. Just like any gang stalking immigrant, you're being deported. Gang stalking police departments, not only do you go to federal prison, but you're done with law enforcement. That's the end of your career in law enforcement. This is what the entity provides when they're engaged in gang stalking, and you're always aware of what I'm doing as I'm showing you the bigger picture at all times, where the demon-possessed are already surrounded with a body of evidence, okay? And then you have the demons that are engaged in psychopathic conduct, a bunch of thousands of people that are sharing the spirit of Satan, and they're engaged in an ongoing system of demonic synchronicity, coming in and out of their rooms, driving, sitting in the vehicles in the parking lots, crossing path on the 60 freeway, crossing path over my head, while the fake sun remains over one building, 2301 South Euclid Avenue in Ontario, California, 91762. That's the pattern of conduct. And no, Jason Isaac Fields is a documented sex offender, a psychopath, very delusional. This is a Jezebel spirit, and this is somebody that will never, outside of the law, be subject to anything other than an immediate arrest if he ever comes into my presence, and I've documented that before. But this is speaking to what are the mentally ill who are demon-possessed and very much delusional with regard to rights that they don't have to engage in stalking under any circumstances after you are a documented and prosecuted terrorist. Okay, so I just want to be clear how it's relevant to the people of the state whose name I know. It is currently, again, 3:10 p.m. The federal government is watching the state engage in this pattern of conduct, and this is speaking to what is a surefire, straightforward prosecution. L. Edwards, Alex Escobar, A. Casada, Nathan Morgan, C. Torres, B. Hook, and L. Martinez, federal prison, kidnapping on July 4th, 2025, kidnapping on May 29th, 2025. The entity kidnapping A. Morris and Corporal Kemp are engaged in kidnapping here at Economy Inn on September 25th, 2020. That's federal prison. All right, and this is the exact same criminal system that they've been engaged in. And the demon that you see on video, gang stalking in room 224 with the Ontario police, she's sharing in criminal conduct, accessing her black BMW, and the government provides evidence which is going to put her in federal prison. Her license plate, again, while she's gang stalking by driving away, license 9EKC937, is gang stalking with the very highly unintelligent Ontario Police Department. They are gang stalking police officers. They're not engaged in law enforcement. And gang stalking police officers, they go to federal prison. And the aforesaid names include those domestic terrorists that are wearing uniforms to conceal their demon possession and also to conceal their corruption with regard to criminal surveillance and being sex offenders who are obsessed with my vagina, okay? They are being removed from law enforcement, and you're also going to federal prison while I document that. It is currently 3:11 p.m. This is the entity that's gang stalking at Economy Inn as an entity, and doing so while you document their mental illness, while you legally analyze their criminal conduct, and while they engage in foolishly providing more evidence against themselves as an entire public entity. The state of California is gang stalking. There's no sun that's over Eric Spencer in Oakland, California that is exposing anything other than the specific environment where he is gang stalking. That's why he's sitting in courts defaming my character about property and money that he's not laying his hands on. He's going to federal prison. And this is the criminal system that he's participating in, while the police department with whom he's conducted more than one kidnapping with, in reliance on achieving what is material gain regarding property that belongs to me, he's going to federal prison, as surely as you will see on video, the Ontario police gang stalking by helicopter, okay? That was his motivation. That's his co-defendant. That is the implosion of gang stalking when the defendants are at this point providing evidence against themselves, showing what is their criminal motive, showing how that the criminal system operates. And the entity is doing so to its own demise. This is rampant mental illness. Okay, rampant mental illness, and the obsession of the entity is shown through stalking in the ways in which the people of the state are on video, and through stalking in the way in which the government is directly using a helicopter. That fake sun is right over the top of my head in the same way that it is at this venue, and also in clearly different and distinct regions, which I'm also documenting. The sun is not anywhere in Florida, while the state of California and the city of Ontario is gang stalking in that environment. And that is your ability to understand what the United States government that engages and employs gang stalking to target American citizens is engaging in, okay? And and what you're witnessing is how the criminal conduct of the state of California is putting all of the defendants where they belong. Tracy Banks is going to prison. Eric Spence is going to federal prison. The entity that I've documented, bearing false witness, stealing my property, repeatedly kidnapping, engaging in criminal summoning, acting with the level of impunity and malice that the people that they're going to prison. They are going to federal prison. And I have shown you a body of evidence of corrupt police departments. This is exactly what the Monrovia Police Department is engaging in. You will see the body of evidence when I have left Alvarado Gardens. You already know what LAPD is doing. The entity kept the fake sun over Alvarado Gardens. So I moved from Alvarado Gardens. I go to Monrovia, California, and all of a sudden the sun's not over my apartment, over my front door, over my office at 1810 North Alvarado Street in LA, where the entity is stalking with helicopters, just like the demons of the Ontario police are. They're engaging in stalking, and the fake sun is now suddenly over Town Place Suites by Marriott, and the two could not possibly happen ever because the entity was rising and setting the sun over me at Alvarado Gardens. And this is how you're understanding a clear and straightforward prosecution for targeting by an entirely corrupt government. It's a comprehensive system that every police department in the state of California is engaging in. That's how I'm able to capture the specific environment and targeting, showing severe mental illness and corruption by demons that are employing psychological torture, by the satanic behavior of stalking American citizens, gang stalking them using things such as helicopters and commercial planes in that readily identifiable specific environment, okay? And that's what Monrovia, Arcadia, Pasadena, this is Los Angeles Sheriff's Department and the Los Angeles Police Department. This is what Costa Mesa Police, the Orange County Sheriff's Department. This is what the Kern County Sheriff's Department. This is what the Riverside Police Department that I documented in 2021, by the way, gang stalking me while I am in Harupa Valley under the fake sun on the job as well. Doing so while stalking by helicopter while the fake sun's over me in Harupa Valley. I documented the Riverside County already. But the entity is engaged in this pattern of conduct in the same way that the Ontario Police again demonstrated. While demons who are hostile to the notion of being barred under law from ever coming into my presence, which is exactly what demons and terrorists like and psychopaths like Jason Isaac Fields are exactly. This is precisely what they will be subject to because of the high instability of their mind state, the criminal conduct, the unlawful threat posed to me while targeting me with the government. And there is nothing that changes that. It is only the American citizen that was subject to this targeting system that can consent to anything outside of that. It is only a delusional psychopath like demons who are gang stalking in the way in which I'm documenting again on another day that are hostile to that. Then you have the helicopter activity, the earthquake while a demon is pushing a housekeeping cart outside. Demons engaging water, stalking, pacing together as a population, and they are showing their inability to control themselves. The demon-possessed are very much obsessed, very much obsessed. And it's going from the mayor to the chief of police, who has a bunch of cockroaches that want to be concealed as police officers. They're not policing, they're stalking. They're stalking, okay? And they are obsessed with everything that I do concerning the way that I blink, all right? The way that I eat my food, the way that I sleep, my breathing patterns, the way that I cross my legs, okay? Very perverted, the way that I wash my body in the shower. They're obsessed with my vagina when it's exposed. They're obsessed with my personal private activity concerning my genitalia. They're obsessed with how many times I stroke my hands together when I wash my hands. This is the level of monitoring that the demon-possessed are engaging in. And the demon-possessed are also hostile when you know it. They're obsessed with you, and they're also enraged because you know it. That's the spirit of Satan, and it's directly informing legislation regarding mental illness of this entity that's gang stalking. Okay, it's 3:17 p.m. The Ontario Police Department's criminal engagement of gang stalking by helicopter, which I'm documenting from July 15th till today, July 15th thus far. By helicopter, it's the duration of time under the fake sun is 7:16 a.m. to what is during the 3 p.m. hour. This is speaking to what is inevitable federal prosecution for the documented kidnappers at this venue. And while I am at it, let me just go ahead and remind you about their license plates. The entity that is gang stalking by venue is engaging in that pattern of conduct, and the entity is doing so in concert with the people of the state. And you are going to federal prison where the government is targeting me at your home, at your establishment where you work, or where you are present, sharing in the criminal elements of monitoring, and that entire system is underway. The entity is gang stalking license plate KKB99, 9GTD454, EE94Z99, that's a paper plate, 9MBP997, that's the gang stalking housekeeper that you'll see on video, gang stalking in real time, and it is immediately followed by the very foolish, and literally the Providence. It's very unfortunate. I don't need the government to come in and volunteer evidence that this gang stalker is monitoring me with the police department, with the city of Ontario. That's literally what they did by stalking in a helicopter while the fake sun is over me during the 3 p.m. hour, okay? But that's the entity that is gang stalking both directly and vicariously, and this is the prosecution. Gang stalking immigrants are going to be deported, okay? It is currently 3:18 p.m. This is the evidence that is going to support barring documented terrorists like those whose name you know from ever coming into your presence, especially when they engage in all-out targeting you in order to steal property and money from you. And I don't care if you turn state's evidence and testify against your former co-defendant. It's the targeted individual alone is the one that will consent to that, and it's never going to happen. None of the people of the state, no state actor is ever going to have any sort of ability under the law to come into my presence, and I'm documenting the threat that they pose to me while I'm still subject to federal group stalking and monitoring. And this is speaking to the ways in which the laws are designed to protect and enforce the rights, human and constitutional rights of American citizens who are subject to targeting in the ways in which I have shown, and the evidence proves. It's 3:19 p.m. It's Friday, July 25th, 2025. The current demon, the corrupt domestic terrorist leader over the Ontario Police Department, many of whom filled with the state actors who I've documented engaged in kidnapping and gang stalking under the fake sun, they're going to federal prison. Mike LORENZ is the corrupt actor that's going to be removed from position. Hi, were you trying to get in my room? Oh, because the door was jiggling and everything. I have a chair locked up to it. You have a door right here, right?
Yeah, but you mean right here? Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't mean this door. I mean the door inside.
I have a bag right there.
Uh-huh. Oh, okay, because
But I know it's two different doors.
Yeah, there's your door and then my door is on the opposite side. So if you try to open it, the chair that's pushed up against it, it moves. So I was just asking, is there something you needed? No? Oh, okay.
I just got here. I just
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. Bye. All right. Just want to show you, here it is. This is impossible light activity. And this is the door that this third party, the African American male that is gang stalking with the Ontario Police Department under the fake sun. It's currently 4:31 p.m. This is the fake sun where they are indeed engaged in what is a threat to my safety. Men trying to break into my hotel room. This is the demon hitting the trash can as a means of stalking me. They're pursuing you with noise while they're gang stalking you. That's the significance of audible activity. This is the manager that's gang stalking. He's pacing around in the parking lot. That's a cycle peeping his back while he's gang under the fake sun. This is P.O.C. And the gang stalking patrons and engineered light, right? The management stalking. This is occurring how, okay? This is called stalking with light while they pursue you with noise, all right? That's under the guise of a trespasser. There are demons that are stalking and monitoring together. You're working under the fake sun, you're going to prison, okay? This is a sex offense while it's underway inside of a hotel. And this is, again, when they're jiggling with the door and it causes the chair that I have lodged up against it to bounce off of the chair, okay? Because it's movement, so you're, and then he's just denying it. That's what a demon is going to do. You're going to pay attention to the specific environment. It's activity creation. While demons who are keeping me under surveillance inside of my hotel room, like the Ontario Police just proved, are engaging in surveillance as admitted sex offenders inside of a private space. All right, this is P.O.C. It's currently 4:32 p.m. This is an unlawful threat to your life and safety, and those that are sex offenders monitoring my genitalia, engaging in what are means of harassing you, trying to, or threatening like they're going to break into your room. You're not able to get in, the door is locked, but this is, again, where the entity is targeting American citizens who are suffering in a bubble. All right, nobody knows that they're being targeted. Nobody knows that a whole population of sex offenders are stalking them, and they're engaging in what is targeting by corrupt police departments that the demon possessed and summon when you engage in any sort of trying to enforce your rights, doing things such as trying to break into your hotel room, and then all they're doing in the specific, creating audible activity, denying it. Okay, that's the pattern of the demon is stalking under the fake sun, driving onto the property. Okay, that's gang stalking by the establishment and everybody on the venue gang stalking. Okay, it is again 4:33 p.m. This is P.O.C. at Economy Inn. All right, the video you just listened to, not only is this the entity that is monitoring, they're monitoring in the specific environment. I'm gonna go ahead and capture images so you can see the state of the door. Not only is this demon engaging what is monitoring, this is the African American male that I captured in images. This is the entity that is necessarily controlling and changing the lock, moving the lock that would affect the door by having a key to access it. So again, the denial is nothing other than audible activity. This is a deadbolt where the entity has to have a key in order to turn the lock on my side. There is the lock, you could see it on the video, where you are able to unlock it with your hand. On the opposite side, where the opposite room is, you would need to have a key in order to affect the door movement of the lock on the door to move, which would cause the chair that I have lodged up against it to move. And this is a person that's denying it while I'm inside of my room, subject to that iteration of activity creation, which an entity is doing to threaten you. This is what they're doing while I'm in the shower, having a key, accessing the room inside of my hotel room. It's the same thing where the entity is gang stalking at a hotel. Understand, the people of the state that are gang stalking with the government that's gang stalking through corrupt establishments, them accessing your hotel room. And this is where you're understanding how the entity would engage in that. The gang stalking people of the state having access key cards to get into your room, to access your property, to get in through like side doors like I'm showing inside of my hotel room, where you would get into my room while you are, again, then denying it, but you're looking at the fake sun, you're looking at the engineered light, you're looking at the government gang stalking by planes and helicopters. This is the entity that's committed kidnapping. The entity is engaged in monitoring and doing so while they're keeping me under surveillance, exceedingly hostile, while I am documenting them monitoring the fact that while I am uploading documentation and I review it, and the entity knows very well that they were given many warnings years before, not taking heed to such warnings. And then you have this sex offender necessarily having a key, which is affecting the deadbolt, and this causes the chair in my room, which is literally what I use as a means of a sound alarm. You're necessarily changing it, and you weren't accidentally doing that. You had to have a key to do that. This is why I'm capturing that. This is, again, the establishment that's engaged in gang stalking, license KKB 99.
Their license plates, while the people of the state are gang stalking, you're talking about what's required. Either the management is in the room using the key to access it, but that's not required. You are looking at a superficial means of the same demons, the people of the state, gang stalking on behalf of the government. You're looking at what is corruption, the employees providing a basis to be in my room and engage in that level of threatening you. Oh my goodness, how did you open the door? How did that happen? And then causing you to question by denying it. The demon-possessed are liars, and they're gang stalking, and they engaged in this iteration of threatening me right now, while this African American male is the one in room 233 accessing the side room that I have locked, and the chair is lodged up against that deadbolt. So if you are changing that deadbolt, which requires a key, it's immediately causing the chair to move. And then I capture him on video, creating nothing other than audible activity and engineered light in my path, gang stalking while denying it, which is revealing the psychopathic mental illness disorders of those that are engaging in the sex offensive gang stalking. All right, and let alone gang stalking in a hotel room. But I took pictures of that. The people of the state that are gang stalking, the ability to have the key, because I don't have the key, accessing the deadbolt on his door. So necessarily having a key to access the deadbolt on my door, this is the same threat by the entity gang stalking by employment status. License KKB99, license 9GTD454, who was the demon on video gang stalking in the parking lot under the fake sun. The video you just listened to, he's the one standing in the parking lot. He's also in the parking lot at 12:42 in the afternoon inside of his white Honda, where the Ontario International Airport is gang stalking me under the fake sun. That's duration of time analysis, so that you are able to witness the evidence of his mental illness while he is maliciously targeting me, and in both videos where the natural environment would not include the sun in both videos over me, but it does, showing you that he's gang stalking me with the people of the state who have a key to access my room in a way that is a threat to a woman. These are sex offenders engaging in that. These are gang stalkers sharing in that pattern of conduct. With the city of Ontario very foolishly providing the fact that Paul Leon is gang stalking me at Economy Inn, that Mike Lorenz is gang stalking me at Economy Inn, that Alan D. WAPNER is gang stalking me at Economy Inn, because of the evidence of the impossible light activity, the fake sun remaining over the roof over me at this venue, and the entity stalking by plane and helicopter, like I've documented as well. Psychopaths are engaging in the pattern of conduct by virtue of their engagement in the elements of monitoring, and the substance of their audible activity is relevant to severely delusional and malicious and psychopathic targeting methods. They are going to engage in lying in many occasions while they're engaging in that. So you are analyzing the elements, and then with regard to the substance of what it is that they're discussing, you are able to use that to diagnose. Okay, you're dealing with a psychopath that's engaged in gang stalking, and then you're talking about you're clearly lying, because I don't have to make up anything, including the fact that the government is stalking me in helicopters, and this demon is doing so in the engineered light. So you're talking about credibility. Who has none? The people of the state. Who does not need to make up anything? That is myself. Who has every reason to make up things, which is also not going to, a bunch of gang members that are engaging in what is the necessity to make up things, also lacking credibility. There's nothing that they can make up that's going to rehabilitate the characters that the entity has shown that it has. Entirely deceitful, entirely malicious, entirely corrupt, sexually perverted, psychopathic, obsessive, and engaged in what is outright criminal conduct of the most egregious levels. That's what's denying that they are, and remember, because I'm talking about a person who represents an entity, not an individual. I will prosecute this third party in court under his name, but this is an entity. The Ontario Police Department needs that demon to be in that room to stalk me in the path as I walk inside, while the demons that are working at the venue are stalking in the path outside of the room, and it creates sensational activity while the demons are stalking, patrolling systematically on the 60 freeway as a means of ongoing maintenance all around me inside of the room. This is what the Ontario Police Department are requiring in order to share in the criminal pattern of conduct of gang stalking. The police, the government's not doing it. The government cannot do it by themselves. Okay, accessing my room is again another foolish iteration of threatening somebody that is going to prosecute you for it. This is the mental illness always at the forefront of the gang stalkers, and it includes the Ontario Police Department. Sex offenders that, why do they want to get in my room? These are the same demons that are obsessed with my vagina. They're obsessed with everything that I do and say, and that's because of their condition, the fact that they're demon possessed, and they are engaging in that pattern of conduct as an obsessed population. And their obsession with me is also what animates their hostility, because they're obsessed with somebody that is always exposing them. They're obsessed with the person that knows knows what they're doing, which is criminal, and they're obsessed with the person that has the legal skill set to prosecute it under existing laws and advocate and point out how else you shall prosecute this, what justice requires. They are both obsessed with me, demons, and they're also hostile and hate me because of their obsession with me. That's that mental illness. And you need to understand that mental illness is that which is spiritually inspired, and then it manifests itself in the behavior of people. Okay, when you are ignorant and not regarding the spiritual realm, you're just talking, oh, well, you're engaging in this and you need prescription drugs in order to deal with it. Okay, so I just want to be clear. There are physical conditions that also manifest with regard to your physical body. And this is not under any circumstances stating that if you have some sort of physical condition that you should not seek medical care, because that's not what I'm stating. I'm stating understand the way that we as complex human beings created by God in his image are designed. And what is occurring with you spiritually affects you physically. Now, those that are demon possessed gang stalkers are maliciously engaging in what are spiritually attacking you while you're ignorant about that fact, and at the same time telling you that something's wrong with you while they're spiritually attacking you, physically stalking you, i.e. gang stalking, and spiritually attacking you, psychological warfare, and telling you that you're crazy when you're looking at a bunch of strangers that are, again, ostensibly strangers, but I've shown you the pattern of conduct. They're not strangers to you at all. They're targeting you. They know exactly who you are. They know the moment you pull your underwear down in the bathroom. They know whether you're going number one or number two. They know whether you are taking a shower. They know how long that, they know everything about you. They're sex offenders. They're obsessed with you. They're monitoring you. Okay, that's the entity that's denying accessing my room. So I just want to be clear. Not only is he accessing it, but he is in custody of a key in doing so. That's a documented threat by the entity. All right, and Simba and the city of Ontario is engaging in what is communicating that threat together. All right, this is P.O.C. It's currently 4:45 p.m. at 2301 South Euclid Avenue. Let me make sure again that I'm documenting all the license plates of the people of the state at this venue. Again, license KKB99, license 9GTD454, the paper plate, which is license EE94Z99, and license 9MBP997. And that's the license plate of the housekeeper. There are two other housekeepers that I've documented thus far, whose license plates I have not specifically identified the vehicles that they're in custody of, but I've documented on more than one occasion all the license plates in the parking lot. So I very well may have already captured it. Again, you don't have to do that to document the people of the state for them to suffer the consequences of targeting you. This is my way of maintaining my own ongoing investigation, identifying as many demons threatening me together cooperatively while there are a bunch of delusional psychopaths already prosecuted. They just, because they have not sat in court yet, they are still engaging in criminal conduct that the world, including the feds, are watching them engage in. And that is going to be used to diagnose and convict them because the case is already closed. It's 4:46 p.m. This is All right, license plate 9UDP607, 9SYE890, 9DTM779. And I read 3TBG137, 9EWY122. I read 4KCY540, 7UIG423. License plates. And what I just uploaded to the Google Drive, you will see the images of impossible light activity that's inside of my hotel room. As I open the front door, and you're looking at light manifesting as the front door opens, outside is shade. This is where demons are stalking and monitoring what I'm doing on my devices. And what I'm doing on my device is relevant to the unlawful interference with a federal case against the government. That includes the people of state license 9RBF516. And they're engaging in domestic terrorism, psychological torture, harassment, and the sex offense committed by a public entity, the perpetual sex offense, while they are monitoring evidence and gang stalking me in doing so. And you will also see the images of the fake sun over the same roof. It's in that same position at 9 in the morning, at 12:52 in the afternoon, where I'm capturing video while I'm staying in room 242, okay? So the fake sun is maintaining presence over me where I am positioned on the property, where it's remaining over the property for 12 hours, okay? That's how I have the fake sun over me at the east end over the staircase in the morning and in the afternoon, and you're looking at the maintenance of a specific environment that's gang stalking, including through the gang stalkers who are sex offenders staying at the hotel. All right, this is P.O.C.
Criminal monitoring is accomplished as a bunch of sex offenders pay to maintain hotel rooms, which is government action. And you're understanding how businesses are not private. They're not on private property. They're not engaged in private activity. They're not engaged in anything that is constitutionally protected. And they're also engaged in criminal conduct with those that are of immigration status in California. And this is supporting what is going to be the deportation of gang stalkers who are, they fill up the state of California, and they will be subject to deportation while they're engaged in domestic terrorism with the government. Okay, it is 5:31 p.m. Demon, this is a Latino male gang stalking coming outside of room 231 in the engineered light. My shadow is appearing on the hotel rooms, and he is accessing a vehicle in the parking lot whose license plates I've already documented. All right, this is again the criminal conduct of economy in the establishment. That's gang stalking. This demon license 7UIG423 is paying to be in a room gang stalking me, and that's the federal RICO case against the business Mobile Gas at 2315 South Euclid Avenue, against the corrupt business practices of the Driftwood shopping plaza across the street. Understand this is the bigger picture of what is the criminal engagement and monitoring which Starbucks is engaging in. I was in Starbucks in order to show you the criminal conduct that Starbucks is engaging in. Starbucks is engaging in monitoring American citizens without their knowledge and consent, and seeks to obstruct justice while that is exposed, as opposed to ceasing from engaging in what is the sex offense of gang stalking American citizens, monitoring them, keeping them under surveillance. I've been at Starbucks in order to show you the indiscriminate pattern of conduct that is occurring through the federal violations of corrupt businesses that are not private actors, that are not operating under the authority of the Constitution, and the capitalistic endeavors of such gang stalkers that go under company names that you're familiar with, such as Marriott Bonvoy, such as Starbucks, such as companies that are maintaining private, what are on the surface treated as private properties, but they are facilitating venues where criminal surveillance is underway by a government that is a public entity, and it's not a private property. And so you are shattering all these illusions of the entity that is engaging in gang stalking. This is the documentation of the entity that is engaged in obsessive stalking and monitoring, and that's going to be relevant to what's built into exposing this issue of public corruption, the mental illness and the national security threat posed by those that are more concerned with surveillance and stalking and threatening and terrorizing and harassing you to obstruct justice than they are with what are now physical consequences, such as the prosecution of that government, such as removal from office, prosecution as terrorists, deportation from the country, etc. They are more mentally sick than they are concerned with those consequences, okay? This is P.O.C. All right, this is Stalking in the Path. The entity is maintaining amplified audible activity in the hotel. This demon is doing the same thing while I'm documenting Alan St. Victor's in the afternoon. This is the management, gang stalk. Remember, he's walking in engineer light. Engineer light also covers underneath here. I'm showing you my shadow in the shade. He is stalking in the path while the entity is filling my hotel room with amplified audible activity as though helicopter is flying over me while I'm documenting Simba. Okay? P.O.C. The entity is doing so while the entity is keeping the fake sun from sunrise until sunset. The Ontario police are showing the kidnapping that they committed with this same economy in 2020. Gang stalking immigrants are also going to be deported if they're not even natural born citizens, engaging in what is federal group stalking and monitoring as a corrupt company that's monitoring while I'm documenting the criminal monitoring of Simba that was gang stalking in this parking lot while the entity was amplifying noise inside of my hotel room. In an environment where the entity maintains supernatural means of light, engineered light, not sunlight, and the sun doesn't stay over one building for 12 hours. That's where the Ontario police are gang stalking at 3 o'clock this afternoon. And this is where Simba is being documented. And Simba is a gang stalker, not demonstrating Christ's love, contrary to what they put on their website. And as I document that corrupt company, I'm subject to more terrorism that is shared by the corrupt gang stalking economy at 2301 South Euclid Avenue. So while that's not coincidental, that's called stalking. Maintaining presence in the path as I open my front door, that's a sex offender that also knows what's going on with my vagina. While the police are engaged in what is flying in circles, that's the audible activity inside of the hotel room. Stepping out. Demons on the opposite side at mobile gang stalking behind there. Gang stalking while maintaining the impossible light activity, and the Ontario Police Department that are gang stalking by flying in circles over the hotel. Okay, this is P.O.C. Oh, and there's the Ontario maintaining aerial surveillance by flying over the sky space. The Ontario Police is the means of audible noise. These are demons that are pacing. He's pacing back and forth while helicopter activity fills my hotel room as Simba is being documented. This is the mental illness of those that are engaged in gang stalking to their own demise. This is what Tracy Banks is criminally cooperating with, gang stalking through a secret conservatorship, the Ontario police repeatedly kidnapping while the people of the state are gang stalking, and they're monitoring inside of a hotel room, which is a sex offense, and mental illness is exhibited while they're in engineer light under a fake sun, gang stalking by going in and out of hotel rooms, stalking, maintaining presence in the path while the entity is engaged in what is targeting engineer light. They're gang stalking, and so is the Ontario Police Department. Okay, that's P.O.C. While he's engaged in stalking a patron of the hotel, Bob being present in the under the fake sun, which is still here. And this is where the Ontario police is flying in circles over my hotel room, while Simba, who was gang stalking in this parking lot, you'll see it uploaded to the Google Drive, by crossing paths just like everybody else under the fake sun. It's over this area of the same hotel at 9 in the morning. The entity's amplifying helicopter activity while Simba is a corrupt, demonic company speaking of and representing Christ's love while they're gang stalking as the same demonic entity. And the Ontario police engages in the pattern of conduct of targeting in the specific environment under the fake sun in concert with the economy in while they're engaging in what is monitoring the evidence. And the demon-possessed exhibit mental illness. The fake sun is over me at 9:30 in the morning, right here. The entity is gang stalking at 7 in the morning, 7:16, flying over. You saw them gang stalking 2 hours earlier where the fake sun's over the same property at 3 o'clock, where the Ontario Police Department cannot control what is their criminal engagement and surveillance, and they're proving that they're surveilling you with the people of the state while they are at another venue. This is what they were doing at Starbucks at 706 West Hope Boulevard. This is what they're doing at Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue. This is what they're doing at this is Economy Inn, but they're also doing this at Woodside Senior Apartments, and then engaging what is kidnapping you at those venues as well. This is the Ontario Police that does, again, I want to be clear, I'm specifically documenting Simba, who's under this fake sun at 1:47 p.m. It's 6:07 p.m. The sun is not only not going to be in Monrovia like I'm documenting this time of year. The Monrovia police are gang stalking while the fake sun remains over Town Place Suites by Marriott in Monrovia at Huntington and Myrtle. It's also not going to be over the same property. And this is where it's at. And this is where, based on the criminal conduct that I'm documenting Simba engaging in, and you have the pattern of conduct of flying in circles while the mental illness of those demons who are gang stalking are engaging in that pattern of conduct. This is the entity that's engaging what is monitoring inside of my hotel room. And these are being documented by license plate while they're all walking in engineered light. This is engineered light, the coverage structure for the criminal monitoring purposes of those who are the people of the state with the Ontario police who are engaging in the sex offense of monitoring me inside of a hotel room. Simba is, they have an office in Victorville, California. They are gang stalking, and they were gang stalking me this afternoon at 1:47 where this fake sun was over my head just like it is now, with the Ontario police who arrived in video documenting the pattern of conduct at 3 p.m. and the fake sun is in the same position at 6:07 p.m. That was 3 hours earlier. And this is the criminal pattern of conduct that Simba, in concert with the city of Ontario, are engaging in, the pattern of conduct of federal group stalking and monitoring. This is, again, the removal of Paul Leon and Mike LORENZ, the federal imprisonment of the demons that are gang stalking, such as C. Hazelwood. He's going to federal prison. He's engaged in what is surveillance and kidnapping. He's engaged in what is criminal summoning. The entities that's engaged in kidnapping on May 29th with Tracy Banks, that's C. Torres, L. Martinez, that's Nathan Morgan, B. Hook. They're going to federal prison. So is the entity kidnapping while they're engaged in surveillance under the fake sun at Starbucks, which I already documented, where the entity has the fake sun at the same time at this hotel where it's remaining for the duration of the day. The entity is going to federal prison, gang stalking as a corrupt police department, impossible light, while a demon is stalking with the Ontario police. That's the criminal engagement of demons that are monitoring together. They're doing so. I want to be clear. Ontario police is gang stalking. L. Edwards is going to federal prison. So is A. Quesada and Alex Escobar. Okay. The entity is engaged in the latest kidnapping committed by what is Owens and C. Hazelwood, which I documented at the DeBoer Professional Building, where the entity is flying in circles over me every night at the DeBoer Professional Building. They're going to federal prison. So is Tracy Banks and Jason Isaac Fields, and the people of the state that engage in gang stalking with them. Stalking with impossible light is 9BCU 587, and it's intentional under a fake sun that's present for the criminal purposes of stalkers that are demon-possessed, sharing in that pattern of conduct. Okay, this is P.O.C. This is exhibiting severe mental illness of the demons that are monitoring evidence, and this is going against the corrupt criminal conduct of Simba, that's gang stalking with the city of Ontario. All right, and as I document Simba is threatening my life while the Ontario Police Department amplifies helicopter activity, and an employee is stalking in the parking lot by having perfect presence as I open that front door under the enduring fake sun while they are monitoring what I'm publishing on the video of the internet. And these are sex offenders that fill all 45 rooms of the hotel where the Ontario Police Department provides evidence against the people of the state that are gang stalking. This is the entity that engaged in kidnapping with the intent to criminally defame, and they're going to federal prison. So is Tracy Banks, that relied on the criminal defamation
inflammatory acts of the Ontario police who committed kidnappings while I've been documenting their criminal surveillance with the people of the state. Okay, this is the P.O.C. The entity is engaged in this pattern of conduct with management. KKB 998 engaged in kidnapping with the Ontario police on September 25th, 2020, and Simba is engaging in that criminal pattern of conduct, not the legitimate not the legitimate and Christ-centered service provision of housing. They're engaging in the demonic pattern of conduct with the Ontario police, who threaten and harass and terrorize with the demons, who are all monitoring the images of gang stalking by Simba today under the 1:47 p.m. fake sun. Mike Lorenz's criminal engagement in targeting you is going to be the evidence of what is incriminating the people of the state, like the corrupt company Simba. Okay, Simba Group. Simba's engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring under Title 18. All right, and they were engaged in the sex offenses. I documented them today at 6:11 p.m. at 2301 South Euclid Avenue. This is a domestic terrorist. Opening the door does not create light on the building. That's gang stalking. Doing so with the Ontario police. That's flying in circles by helicopter over the venue. That's a method of stalking with light. This is what they're doing while they're walking by my hotel room and their shadow moves across the floor on the inside in impossible light activity. That's again 9B CU 587. Gang stalking with the management. Gang stalking under the fake sun, gang stalking while they're engaged in what is monitoring evidence. This is speaking to what is demonic. It's not sunlight, neither is this the sun. Remember, it's remaining over in Monrovia, California. Alan San Victor's is gang stalking by the Monrovia Police Department as the entity kept the fake sun. All right, and this is what the tactics of the mentally ill that are engaged in fully exposed as corrupt, while they're gang stalking as patrons at a corrupt business. This is the economy in. They're doing so while they're inside of their hotel room sharing criminal monitoring on communication devices. Okay, this is P.O.C. This is the disbanding of the Ontario Police Department. Like I stated, that's the manager that's clocking in and out, just like they are from the dumpster crossing. And this is the entity that has the fake sun over the same hotel, all right, that it is in the morning. And they're gang stalking as patrons, the people of the state, gang stalking as management, as the people of the state, and they're doing so with the Ontario police. This is where the entity is gang stalking with commercial planes as well. All right, this is P.O.C. and it's currently, I want you to see, this is the entity that is engaged in criminal surveillance by patronage at a corrupt venue. And Simba, documentation of the gang stalker Simba, the domestic terrorist, the sex offender Simba, is what is inspiring the criminal pattern of conduct of stalking with a helicopter, which is again an outdated method of the demons that think that they will stop a prosecution, and it's going to accelerate that. This is putting Jason Isaac Fields in federal prison. This is what the entity does in order to substantiate what is manufactured means of mental illness. You're not mentally ill when the entity is gang stalking you. This is what Tracy Banks relied on while the entity is defaming in court and relying on criminal conduct that the entity committed against me, such as kidnapping from venues like this, where you're documenting it and enforcing your rights, and then defaming your character in those corrupt courts, where they're trying to steal through the government that's gang stalking you by trying to steal your property through things such as secret conservatorships that this gang stalking entity is utilizing while they're simultaneously targeting as a whole corrupt operation. Remember, the Ontario Police Department just participated in the demonic pacing by flying in circles over my room. All right, but this is ongoing pacing, and doing so with a bunch of demons who are psychopaths stalking you in the way in which mental illness, you're witnessing it while they're stalking with light, stalking under a fake sun, stalking as a population that wants to maintain the mask of being strangers, and they're not strangers in that environment, and they're also very much aggressive and hostile while you document. Corrupt actors like Simba. This is P.O.C. It's currently 6:14 p.m. This is the same evidence that's going to put the people of the state in federal prison that are engaging in criminal defamation and criminal summoning and kidnapping, just like at this venue. Okay, that's the pattern of conduct. It's 6:14 at 2301 South Euclid Avenue, P.O.C. All right, the video of the Ontario Police Department, this is recognizing a pattern, speaking to the absence of any mystery regarding an alleged intention to provide justice by the federal government that's purportedly engaged in an investigation, okay? The Ontario Police Department are engaging while flying in circle, the same exact pattern of kind of following me, stalking as a police department, using helicopters, very obvious, and also obvious while the fake sun is over me while they're doing, it's also obvious at nightfall when I have a group of shadows that are surrounding upright at a distance, for example, on the signage on the street. Remember the impossible light activity at the Tabor Professional Building where my shadow
shadows on the sign on the at a distance away on the sidewalk, while the Ontario police are demons, stalking by flying in circles over me, flying in circles while the people of the state are demons, stalking in engineered light, monitoring me while I'm sleeping outside, speaking to the demon-possessed entity that is obsessed with me. That is an obsessed stalker, and that is also obviously and with a noted level of impunity. The level of impunity is noted with regard to the criminal conduct of the federal government. Okay, so the federal government's purportedly engaging in an investigation. The federal government is purportedly engaging in what is stopping terrorists like Tracy Banks, defaming my character. The government acting in furtherance of murder and kidnapping, gang stalking. Corrupt officials like, for example, Jason Isaac Fields, who has been engaged in targeting me for years and would like to be some sort of double agent that goes from being wicked and having sex with having an inherent conflict of interest, not only as a gang stalking official, but as a gang stalker with a sexual relationship with the people of the state who are personally involved in defaming my character in order to steal from me. He is engaged in what is this corrupt pattern of conduct as well. The Ontario Police is at Economy Inn, where the fake sun is, for example, at the same time at 6 p.m. I captured video. The fake sun's over the Ovitt Family Community Library at 6:02 p.m. as I walk out and I'm documenting the entity that's monitoring my vagina in the bathroom of 215 E.C. Street, the Ovitt Family Community Library. And what's the Ontario Police Department doing? Exhibiting to you demon possession in doing so. The fake sun's over that same library where it's present, like I documented on July 15, 2025, while Simba is gang stalking on video and at that fake sun that's over me at that same library during the 7 a.m. hour. That same library when I'm present and the Ontario Police is gang stalking at 6 p.m. at 6:02 p.m. flying in circles over my head while I'm exposing them, monitoring my vagina in the bathroom, which again, the special needs population is not only obsessed with me, they are enraged and anger, infuriated at me because of their obsession with me. And this is proven through the body of evidence, of the Ontario Police Department flying in circles over me, which is demonic pacing, activity creation, incessant pacing is underway while they're doing so under the fake sun and an engineered light. This is gang stalking through aerial surveillance, by flying over me, in other words. They're doing this, the same elements are present at nightfall, for example, at the Depor Professional Building, where my shadow is surrounding all over the place. And the people of the state are stalking with light, not driving on the street with normal light activity with headlights. Their headlights don't cause the engineered light that swipes all across the building of the Depor Professional Building when they're driving on the street at a distance away. And that impossible light is moving across the wall, creating dynamic and multiple shadows before they're even driving by me, or they're stalking with light. The same thing is what you're witnessing, the same elements rather, under the fake sun. The Ontario Police Department's obvious and fearless engagement in stalking by helicopter with the documented kidnappers who would be subject to deportation if you're engaged in gang stalking and kidnapping as immigrants in this country, while they are keeping the evidence under surveillance, while the federal government would like to claim that they're engaging in a simultaneous ongoing investigation, which is no secret because everybody's monitoring me. The gang stalker is monitoring me. The supposed investigator that is the federal government that's not engaged in gang stalking me. They're not engaged in voyeurism. They're not engaged in maintaining sex rituals of masturbating, tugging on each other's genitals when my vagina is exposed in the bathroom. No, they're not a part of that population. They're the ones that are on the right side of justice. They're the ones that are providing justice. They're the ones that are engaging in an ongoing investigation. They're distinct from the demons that are openly and fearlessly engaging in what is surveillance of my evidence, while the federal government is not secretly engaging in any manner of surveillance. It's not a secret. So the level of fearlessness that the Ontario Police Department exhibit is relevant to the federal government that would like to claim that they're engaging in an investigation. Okay, I want to be clear. The federal government's pattern of conduct is what is being exposed. The federal government is the one that is going to be prosecuted for the pattern of conduct that's underway in Florida, because the state of California is a public entity that's engaging in the pattern of conduct amongst the public entity in Florida under the fake sun. That is not possibly the natural environment, while the Ontario Police are under a fake sun, both on video at 7:16 in the morning, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and like I'm documenting at 6 p.m., flying in circles even, while the fake sun is over me. And the people of the state are also exhibiting this level of lawlessness. This is relevant to terrorists like Tracy Banks, who are still targeting with the government, and the government would like to claim that it's because Tracy Banks is a maniacal psychopath who acted by herself, who is the reason why everybody else engaged in the volitional acts of stalking as a police department, stalking as a sheriff's department, stalking as a corrupt government body, every level, stalking as the people of the state that are making decisions to gang stalk at the hotel, to gang stalk as a means of your corrupt business. They would like to blame terrorists and sex offenders like Tracy Banks, but Tracy Banks is not accountable for what I'm documenting right now. She is with regard to the criminal conduct as an entity, but she is not responsible, and she's not going to be prosecuted for the volitional acts that the government is engaging in. And what is noted, what you're paying attention to, is the demonic entity that is not limited to the state government. The federal government is facilitating while this level of impunity and malice is exhibited on video. Why else would you provide evidence of the Ovitt Family Community Library on video at 6:02 p.m. flying in circles under that fake sun, while I am at the same time at 6 p.m. at 2301 South Euclid Avenue, when you're facing things like deportation, federal prison? That is, of course, if you're actually concerned about serving such consequences, if that's actually what the case is, if there is actually a federal investigation under, et cetera, if you're following the line of reasoning that I'm going down. The impunity is directly relevant to the corruption of the government. The same entity that's gang stalking is the same entity that is convinced that it's not suffering any consequences, that it will not endure any sort of prosecution. That's also going to be relevant to the unlawful threat that the government poses. This is also why federal policy is going to bar domestic terrorists like Jason Isaac Fields and Tracy Banks, etc., who are already subject to federal prison, but nonetheless from ever coming into your presence where they are documented terrorists. I want to be clear. This is what's directly relevant, while Mike Lorenz is clearly engaging in what is not mysterious, and it's not under any circumstances deviating from the entity engages in this conduct while I'm documenting Simba, who is gang stalking. The 1:47 p.m. is over the same roof that it is at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, at 10 o'clock in the morning, at 7:16 a.m., and at what is 6 p.m. where the Ontario police are threatening my life while I'm documenting Simba. That's corroborating the criminal activity that Simba is documented engaging in. While I'm inside of my room, sensational activity, amplified audible activity, while Simba are demons who are operating a commercial vehicle, a commercial actor that would like to associate Christ Jesus, who has nothing to do with this criminal and satanic means of targeting American citizens. And while I'm documenting Simba, the Ontario Police Department resorts to the pattern of conduct with the intent to obstruct justice, flying in circles over me, which is nothing other than further incriminating. That is corroborating evidence. That's not a distraction. That's not going to, in other words, in federal court be, well, okay, there's not enough evidence to claim that Simba is gang stalking you and the employees of Simba is gang stalking you, and that it is within the conspiracy of the government to gang stalk you under such corporate means. It is clearly the government that engages in this documented pattern of flying in circles over your head as you engage in documentation. That is speaking to what is a pattern of conduct, and that ongoing pattern of conduct is speaking to necessary knowledge about what I'm documenting. And by the way, corrupt actors like Simba are in that specific environment, and there is no deviation. Whether you're gang stalking by walking in the parking lot under the fake sun, or gang stalking by walking to your vehicle in that parking lot and driving in that same parking lot under the fake sun, it is criminal presence in the path, and you're identifying what is a means of draining the pockets and exposing corrupt terrorists and sex offenders that would like to hide behind Christ, calling themselves a faith-based housing services organization such as what Simba is doing. Simba employees are gang stalking me at 10 o'clock in the morning, which you will see. They are gang stalking on video on July 15, 2025 at the Ovitt Family Community Library. They are gang stalking today at 1:47 p.m. They're engaged in domestic terrorism. They are terrorizing me with amplified audible activity while they're monitoring on communication devices, just like the sex offenders in the 45 rooms at Economy Inn. They came and participated in it, and then they drove off. And the pattern of conduct is ceaselessly underway, where you have a vacillating identity of demons who represent one entity. And while I'm documenting you, and you is, under these circumstances, Simba. This is when the co-defendant, the Ontario Police Department, that knows that I'm documenting, and so does Simba know, while they remain a part of the entity even as they drive away, and another demon replaces. It's the pattern of conduct. And it is not the government that is helping Simba. It is the government that is aiding to civil damages that Simba will be
that Simba will be responsible for with regard to the unlawful threat while you're engaging in gang stalking as a corrupt company like Simba is engaging in. They are not engaging in what is housing services. They're engaging in the criminal elements of monitoring. They're doing so with the intent in furtherance of murder and kidnapping. And they have the audacity to do it while they want to associate the name of Christ Jesus with that. That's what you're paying attention to when you're looking at the fake sign over me at 1:47 p.m. where Simba is gang stalking as I documented that license plate. And on video, where the fake sun is over the same exact roof over me in conformity to a pattern of conduct that is shared by even the Monrovia Police Department in Monrovia, California, where the entity is keeping the fake sun over me at this time of year, including on this day. I'm documenting yesterday, the day before that. I'm staying at the Monrovia Town Place Suites by Marriott. Marriott Bonvoy is gang stalking, just like this rinky-dink Economy Inn is gang stalking. This mom and pop company that will not be able to survive civil damages, let alone a criminal prosecution as a company, and the gang stalkers who are the employees at the venue, who are engaging in what is a very audacious iteration of the pattern of conduct, but it's in conformity to the murderers, the stalkers, the sex offenders of the Ontario Police. Flying in circles, terrorizing me at the Starbucks at 706 West Hall Boulevard in Ontario, California. Flying in circles over me, gang stalking me as I'm documenting them at the 507 North Euclid Avenue Starbucks on Euclid Avenue in Ontario, California. Flying in circles and gang stalking me at the Woodside Senior Apartments at 408 West G Street in Ontario, California. Gang stalking by flying in circles over me at the DePort Professional Building at 320 West G Street in Ontario, California. Flying in circles and gang stalking me at the 215 East C Street Ovid Family Community Library in Ontario, California, where the Ontario Police Department are engaging in that P.O.C. with knowledge of what it is that I'm documenting at the moment that I'm documenting it. Flying in circles over me, gang stalking me by helicopter at the Ontario Town Square, 224 North Euclid Avenue in Ontario, California, under the fake sun. Doing so while I am documenting the P.O.C. throughout the city of Ontario, where the entity is speaking to what is stalking, exhibiting demon possession. These are not only criminals that are engaging in obvious criminal conduct, and it's obvious because of my body of evidence, which shows you the ongoing connection of everything that they're doing on an ongoing daily basis. This is what makes it obvious, because you are able to see the forest from the trees when the demons are stalking me from day to day as a public entity, no matter where I'm at, and that specific environment is present, and that pattern of conduct, including the mentally ill, the special needs population who are on video in the at Economy Inn during the 6 p.m. hour, and the demon that's driving the Lexus opening his front door. You're looking at a demon possessed person who is engaging in what is the behavioral health concern, which is a threat to the public, monitoring you with the government that will chase you down and stalk you and terrorize you, psychologically torture you using helicopters as though they intend to start shooting at you, raid you, drop bombs on you like we're in some third world country and you're stalking an American citizen in that absurdly psychopathic manner, and it's in a body of evidence in a specific environment which is getting to a very specific person that is being terrorized in such manners. This is the level of evidence that the Ontario Police Department provides against Simba, where you are paying attention to what I'm doing on my device at the moment that the demons engage in stalking in any particular method, especially helicopter. And this is where the employees and the demon-possessed patrons and the demon-possessed people of the state that are gang stalking on the freeways and all the surrounding businesses, while the Ontario Police Department fly in circles over what is Economy Inn at 6 p.m. when they are maintaining criminal surveillance on a ceaseless basis. And while the demons are bullied by evidence, the demons that are hostile because they are obsessed with me, the demons that are embarrassed and ashamed of that, they provide evidence to their own demise. And it's relevant because the federal government will, in the future, assert that they were maintaining an investigation. And this level of threatening your life and safety. Remember, C. Hazelwood is committing a kidnapping and then releasing me from that kidnapping after committing an unconstitutional search of all of my property, which, by the way, the government will engage in what is an attempted kidnapping just so that they can go through your things, unlawful search, and then release you. And the average person is not going to go to the extent to file a complaint, which is not going to get you anywhere anyway, but filing a complaint, well, they will create information such as, oh, well, that venue called us, and that's how we knew that the targeted individual, they're not referring to you as the targeted individual, but that's how they knew that the targeted individual was sleeping on what they're claiming is private property, and that they saw you on camera. There's no camera there, and Mothers, which is, again, a place where you are using government benefits, and again, but for your keeping me under surveillance, I'm sitting on the sidewalk, literally the entity is engaging in what is kidnapping, putting me in handcuffs in the vehicle, and then doing so while they're monitoring Owens and C. Hazelwood, while they're engaged in the pattern of conduct that the Ontario Police Department are engaging in at Economy Inn, and they're doing so while they are then on the night that I documented C. Hazelwood and Owens,
engaged in criminal summoning, making up information, which is what the people of the state are poised to do. Providing, oh yeah, we had surveillance camera and we saw the targeted individual and we called the Ontario Police Department to remove the targeted individual from our property, and that's why C. Hazelwood, that's why Owens arrived at the Tapor Professional Building, and that's why they engaged in removing her from our property at 3 in the morning, where we are engaging in what is looking at her on the surveillance camera. And the entity is engaging in what is, in other words, making up that information to substantiate kidnappings by the entity that's engaged in surveillance. The entity that is, and that's again, no matter what they are making up to corroborate criminal summoning, the entity is subject to the doctrine of supremacy. They're engaged in criminal surveillance, which there is no support. The people of the state are gang stalking with them. And by the way, it's not private property. And that doesn't mean that you have a right to break into people's property. What that means is you are not protected to engage in surveillance on your property as well. And so it's not private property, it's a facilitating venue. And where the entity is engaging in surveillance, the entity that's gang stalking directly and vicariously engages in conspiring against the targeted individual by providing corroborating evidence such as, oh yes, we had a camera. Oh yes, we're the ones that called the Ontario Police. They weren't gang stalking and targeting the targeted individual on their own, and then engaging in what is the exercise of property rights by a third party that did not summon them. And they don't have any knowledge about whether I was given consent to sit on the sidewalk outside where there is no camera, and they were not summoned by any property owner. The entity is engaging in the P.O.C. I'm just giving you an example, okay, of how the entity is gang stalking together. What you are paying attention to is the unlawful threat that gang stalkers like the Ontario Police, like the military that are engaged in criminal surveillance, like the federal law enforcement agencies that are engaged in criminal surveillance, like Jason Isaac Fields represents, where they are delusional psychopaths and engage in what is abuse of their position while they're watching their exposure. This is not anything other than a basis of people who are going to federal prison. The demons are still delusional with regard to controlling how this is going to be executed and how it's going to be concluded. The entity is engaging in what is gang stalking through the puppets of the Ontario Police. Understand that. This is the United States government's pattern of conduct that's underway in California. Okay, that's how you have gang stalking happening throughout the states in this country. That's exactly what's happening under a fake sun in Texas. Okay, the entity is engaging in this, and the entity that's watching me expose them is engaging in what is permitting demons like the lower spiritual demons of the Ontario Police. These are lower spiritual beings. These are the commoners that are supposed to handle targeted individuals like myself, and they cannot. It's fully exposed, and the entity in the face, the federal government sitting watching it, permitting that unlawful threat. That's criminal conduct by the federal government. They're not heroes. They are not doing what is their job. And it has long expired what justice would require. And this is the same federal government that thought they were going to steal my property. Okay? They thought that they were going to accomplish kidnapping me. This is what this sex offender, this pedophile, this sodomite, Jason Isaac Fields represents. Thinking that they were going to, while having sex with my mom, somebody that wants to be me, while they, again, worship demonic spirits, and then this psychopath is also a government official who was gang stalking me, targeting me with the corrupt government, and then defaming my character, and relying on the criminal conduct of the Ontario Police Department, which remains legally relevant while I remain subject to that P.O.C. This is the criminal conduct that Tracy Banks and the corrupt courts relied on paper, where they're defaming my character. This criminal conduct of the Ontario Police that are gang stalking. This is the criminal conduct. This is the agency that's engaged in repeated kidnapping. The same entity is relying on their criminal means of targeting me to substantiate manufactured mental illness. This is what they're relying on. This is how this system operates. This is what these impotent demons who are in the military, who are in federal agencies, within federal agencies, monitoring demons. This is what they relied on, and they're still doing it. What you are paying attention to is the impunity with which the lower beings, who are the demons of the Ontario Police Department, engage in that pattern of conduct. While there's no secret here. They're monitoring everything I'm looking at on the internet. They're monitoring what I publish online, what I document. The people of the state are demons, maniacal psychopaths who are already surrounded with evidence. There's no mystery about what they're doing. And while a so-called investigation is underway, you're looking at the lawlessness that I'm capturing. The level of fearlessness of a bunch of demons who would be facing federal prison for terrorism. The level of impunity and malice is what you are paying attention to. And it is no coincidence, it is within the pattern of conduct. Simba is threatening my life and safety while I'm documenting them. And then the gang stalking police department that they are criminally monitoring me with, which is under the guise of corrupt business practices that Simba is engaging, the federal RICO case against Simba. Okay, while I document that co-defendant of the Ontario Police resorts to this pattern of conduct, stalking by flying in circles over me by helicopter at the venue where they've already committed kidnapping as an entity, sex offenders molesting with impossible light, stalking under the fake sun, terrorizing with sensational activity and amplified audible activity, targeting with all manner of resources of the government such as commercial planes and helicopter, while they are monitoring my vagina as sex offenders, targeting as a public entity that is demon possessed. This is where the federal government is not engaging in any legitimate investigation while I remain subject to this P.O.C. Like I stated at the outset, this is under no circumstances any sort of application to cooperate with the federal government that permitted this level of unlawful terrorism by itself, because the federal government is the one that's engaged in criminal monitoring throughout this country. And they have been caught because of the incompetence of the lower demons who are the city of Ontario, the state of California, who have shown how the federal government is monitoring American citizens throughout this country. Now, the federal government is now sitting back engaging in voyeurism. They are monitoring my vagina. Do not ever get confused when I'm referring to the demons that I'm looking at. Okay, Mike Lorenz is engaged in domestic terrorism. You know that. You need to understand this is a reference to what the federal government is doing. These are lower beings who are inferior. Their inferiority is proven and demonstrated while I am exposing and proving that not only are they demons, but they're stalkers. They're sex offenders. They are psychopaths while you see them stalking with light. Opening your door will never create light activity. Fanning across the building, that's a psychopath whose mental illness is exposed while you see that impossible light travel across, and they're engaging in criminal monitoring. This is what's on video with the Ontario police that's flying in circles, exhibiting clearly mental illness, pacing back and forth, stalking one person under a fake sun, mental illness exhibited, in conformity to a pattern of conduct shared by other police departments throughout California, including, at this time of year, Alan San Victor's Monrovia Police Department, where there is no sun over the parking lot of Huntington and Myrtle's Town Place Suites by Marriott during the 6 p.m. hour. I documented that on video. And while I'm at Economy Inn, where I'm present at 7 in the morning, there's no sun that's going to be at both venues at the same time. There is no sun that would be over either venue for the duration of the day. And that's the pattern of conduct that I've documented, where police departments are demon possessed. These are the lower beings. By lower, I mean these are literally, with regard to spirit, in the spirit, these are demon possessed people who are supposed to be at a commoner level. They're supposed to keep contained, in other words, this criminal surveillance system. It's fully exposed as what I've shown, and the federal government is permitting the government to threaten my life like that. The federal government is permitting that threat. The federal government is watching the sex offenders while they are sharing in that. Jason Isaac Fields will never be lawfully in my presence. This is a maniacal psychopath that engaged in it, and he thought that, again, like all these demons do, because of their position, because of numerosity, because it worked against other demons like them, that their witchcraft and their criminal activity together was going to overpower myself, a child of God. And I am speaking to the truth of what they are and their criminal activity as they engage in it. And they are delusional while they are witnessing the physical evidence proving what they're doing, and also the authority, the ability to let you know what they are in the spirit. They're a bunch of demons. And they are also delusional with regard to their ability to control how this is going to end. Jason Isaac Fields will never lawfully be in my presence, and he is subject to federal prison like every other gang stalker who defamed my character, who engaged in kidnapping me like Economy Inn employees have, while they're still gang stalking. This level of lawlessness, this level of impunity, this level of disregard as, oh, nothing's going to happen, flying in circles and threaten an American citizen on video again. Do it again. Do it right now on video while she captures it, like as though domestic terrorism is not going to be met with the most severe federal legislation and prosecutorial resources, such as federal prison, if not for the rest of your life, for a substantial portion of however much life you have. Okay, the entity is engaging in this level of fearless criminal conduct
while I'm subject to ongoing threats to my life, liberty, property rights, the right to be free from unlawful search and seizures, the federal government is permitting it. This is not an investigation. Remember, the government never had a right in the first place. Yes, I am the one that has to establish precedent. I have gone above and beyond. I've done what the federal government, if they weren't incompetent gang stalking in the first place, should have already exposed, but for the federal government engaging and relying on a system of surveillance in this country. It's no longer a secret, and that's what the federal government is facing, and the federal government is being documented. I'm going to prosecute, for example, if a psychopath named Jason Isaac Fields ever comes into my presence. There is nothing that he has that the government should not have already taken from him because it's my property. If he has my money, if he has any custody of my property, it's criminal conduct by the government that's still gang stalking me, by the way, which is how my evidence is going to surround that government that permitted it, while delaying justice for me and allowing a psychopath, a sex offender like Jason Isaac Fields, a terrorist, to maintain access and authority over my property. There is no witchcraft that's ever going to result in me losing my life. The entity is going to watch itself expire while they have used such resources, and this is relevant to the entity that has delayed justice, and the result is not going to change. What I am documenting is because is relevant to what is inevitable. Not only have I proven what the government is doing and who the government is doing it through, I want you to pay attention and analyze the entity's knowledge and their ongoing ceaseless pattern of conduct, and also pay attention to the obstruction of justice tactics, which include permitting an American citizen to remain subject to this criminal system while they are doing things delusional, like waiting for witchcraft to kick in, and it's not going to happen. Not only that, and this is what the demon possessed are doing, unbeknownst to you, but I'm going to prosecute for it because it is nonetheless an unconstitutional act of obstruction of justice, where you are engaging in terrorism. Under what circumstances is an American government permitting American citizens to remain subject to terrorism? Are they not going in and neutralizing the threat? Anybody that's subject to what are an ongoing real-time emergency, perhaps it's more appreciated when you're facing bombs and planes and helicopters flying into buildings. I want to be clear, the violence is not less real or to be underappreciated because it's gang stalking and psychological torture. And so the government is sitting back and watching that, and that's what you call an investigation? The entity is engaging in the pattern of conduct, and most of the work has already been done. And by the way, because of the nature of the crime, there aren't even any secrets. So what are you investigating when the government is sitting up watching me conduct my investigation, knows what it is that I'm publishing, and the federal government is engaging in what is essentially watching that executed against me. So they watch C. Hazelwood kidnap me, search my property with Owens, molest me. That's ongoing psychological. They watched all of that and then let that demon drive off. And I go to what is then the next morning. Well, it's the same morning, hours later. And then the demons that are still getting, it's a ceaseless pattern of conduct, bring me to Economy Inn on July 15th. At around 10 a.m. The fake sun, the pattern of conduct just is then now underway at this address. And there's a history of evidence speaking to what I'm documenting now in 2025. And the federal government is not engaging in any secret investigation whatsoever. And there's also no secret with regard to the level of evidence that the entity is permitting an American citizen and permitting the gang stalking population to persist in terrorism against an American citizen. I want to be clear, this is a sacrifice of an American citizen, and it's relevant to the damages, it's relevant to the prosecution, it's relevant to the exposure of the un-American crime of surveillance of, like I'm showing, the federal government engaging in with the state. Okay, this is what's relevant when you're looking at the video that will be published on YouTube. It's already going to be published on my website. This is the P.O.C.wordpress.com for today, July 25th, 2025. And the entity is also, I want to be clear, the entity is also engaging in what is Title 18 federal stalking. The Ontario Police Department, they are more obsessed with me, they are more mentally ill and delusional, and will provide clear evidence of stalking, which is going to put their co-defendants back at Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue in prison, like everything else does, because I don't have to be at Starbucks in order to prove that Starbucks is gang stalking, Starbucks is a facilitating venue, Starbucks is a sex offender monitoring my vagina in that bathroom, Starbucks Starbucks are a bunch of demons that are making money preparing coffee while they're engaged in criminal surveillance and committed kidnapping in order to obstruct justice, harass me because they are hostile, while those demons are engaged in a capitalistic endeavor that is profiting off of gang stalking me. And they're also obsessed with me. They're ashamed and embarrassed by it, while white women, white men, Latino men, men of all, and those are not men, I want to be clear, male and female, demon-possessed gang stalkers are ashamed and embarrassed because of their obsession, which is proven, their criminal activity, which is proven, which is also incriminating and very expensive conduct that Starbucks, the corporation headquartered in Seattle, is going to compensate for, which is also relevant to a criminal case, a federal RICO case. I have done what is the legwork, the field work, that the incompetent federal government is benefiting off of. And I want to be clear, sitting back and engaging in voyeurism is not the provision of justice. I could not be more disgusted with what it is that I've exposed about the government and what I've been subjected to. The entity is engaging in this, and I just want to be clear, like I've stated now, it would be the same if I were in front of any group of people speaking at any public forum. This is not, it doesn't bring me satisfaction to state the reality of the incompetence that I have been approached with, that I have been disgusted by, and not only that, having been forced to engage in my own investigation, my own proof of criminal conduct by a government that conspired my murder, conspired my kidnapping to silence me, to keep me in a facility where ultimately I would have wound up dead. The entity engaging in what is conspiring to steal property from me, knowing exactly who I am, targeting me since I was a child. This level of incompetence, now that I have proven the criminal system and the government is still sitting back and watching it, this is also relevant to incompetence, including while corrupt police departments exhibit the impunity that the Ontario Police Department is yet again demonstrating at yet another crime scene, which is speaking to what the pattern of conduct includes throughout the state of California. Okay, this is the what is so grotesque, what is so nauseating, what's so also infuriating and disappointing about the incompetence of those. You are incompetent while you're gang stalking as a government. That's incompetence. It's also corruption, but this is incompetence. All right, well, the entity is engaging in this, and it is entirely despicable conduct that is removing the gang stalking mayor, the fire department chief, the police department chief. These are demons that want to be esteemed in one way. They're nothing but psychopaths and thieves and sex offenders, okay? And these racist demons, okay, you need to know that they worship my vagina, the vagina of a black woman, if you want to bring race into it, because it has nothing to do with race. Racism is nothing other than a symptom of those that are still subject to that same demonic control. Satan is the one that deceives you into thinking that human beings, all made in the image of God, have some different level of value and ability based on their race, when there is a whole elaborate system designed to break human beings down, such as what I'm showing you, gang stalking, and the sort of opportunities and what they have at their disposal when they are subject to the type of racist institutions, the type of disparate treatment by corrupt law enforcement, by the opportunities that they have to education, and all the ways in which you will have a varying degree of opportunities available, of resources that can help to build up two people from different backgrounds, but they have the same potential, if you will. But it has a lot to do with the country that we're in, and how I want to be clear, Satan, that is a spirit. This is a very much a diligent and a concentrated, calculated effort to substantiate what are racial doctrines, and it is built in other words, trying to separate human beings. It is nothing other than a distraction. It has nothing to do with race. If that were the case, these old, rich white people in San Diego would not be obsessed with my vagina when I'm documenting them under the fake sun. San Diego County gang stalking with helicopter, fake sun through my hotel window, stalking with impossible items out of my hotel. Why are these rich white folks obsessed and monitoring my vagina in my hotel room at Fairfield Place by Marriott in San Diego, California? This has nothing to do with racism. Racism is a symptom. That is not to say that it's not real. That is not to say that people are not racist. But racism is not only affecting white people. This is how it's a spirit. This is how you have black folks that are also racist. It will infect you. It is spiritual, and it is a symptom. And I just want to be clear. These gang stalking demons who are racist, they hate themselves because they're obsessed with me, and they're obsessed with this black woman's vagina. And that's the truth. And that's relevant to the entity gang stalking me by helicopter at this hotel.
They lay down at night with their Middle Eastern wives, with their Asian wives, with their white wives, with their Latina wives, and they're worshiping this African American woman's vagina while they're gang stalking me. And that's hard evidence proven. They're sex offenders and they're demon-possessed gang stalkers. This Jezebel spirit that's acting over a population is engaging in a criminal pattern of conduct. And racism is only a symptom. These demons out here that are stalking with light, their mental illness, that obsession, that maniacal feature of their conduct, and that maniacal conduct is proven through the engineer light that you see flying about, that's a psychopath. And they're obsessed with my genitalia. They're obsessed with my vagina, the vagina of a black woman. And guess what? They hate themselves for that. They're mad at me because of their obsession with me. And you're gang stalking me. That's the psychopath that also threatens your life. That's the animus of the gang stalkers of a whole police department. They can't even explain how they're both racist and obsessed with a black woman at the same time. Okay? But they never intended to defend themselves in federal court for gang stalking me either. Okay, the reason why or how you have those two seemingly contradictory, it's only contradictory on the surface because it is spiritual in its core. Okay, and there is a system that's designed to break down communities by color. That has nothing to do with what you're capable of doing. Who you are and the gifts that you are and your identity is Christ, that's God-given. It's only man who is in service of Satan that seeks to break that down. And there are ways to do that. This is how you have different type of communities, resources that are available to you, education. There are all types of ways that you can break down a human being. And then you're given explanations as to why, oh, it's because they're black or brown or no, it has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with that. And that's a spirit that seeks to divide mankind. The demon-possessed sex offender that is Jason Isaac Fields, this demon is black. His mama is black. Tracy Banks, a family member, Eric Corey Spencer, this demon is purple. Okay? Black as night. Gang stalking me. His own family member. It has nothing to do with race. With regard to the reason why. Rather, that's what I mean. Race is a symptom. It is not the underlying core. You have to go beneath that. And now what no one wants to acknowledge is the reality of Christ Jesus. And when you get to spiritual truths behind the matter, okay, the matter that is manifesting in the physical about whatever the problem is, whatever the issue is, then you can get to the actual truth about what the problem is. But that's not acknowledged. And this is how you have those that we can pontificate all day long. We can sit up and debate all day long about these issues, okay? And I've studied politics. I've studied the law. I've practiced law. I have a background in studying different government regimes. The entity is engaging in a pattern of conduct, and it is based on what is their spiritual condition. These are demons. Satan is using them, and while Satan is using them, they are even tormented by their obsession with me. This is getting to the mental illness of those that are gang stalking. Okay, and their hostility is proven while they engage in what is stalking by helicopter, as I begin documenting corrupt companies like Simba and the entities engaging in the P.O.C. Why would you provide that level of obvious targeting? First of all, it's not going to help Simba. Simba is proven to be gang stalking, where the police are gang stalking under the fake sun and an engineered light with the people of the state. Period. The entities engaging in this antiquated form of targeting. Oh, if the police engage in gang stalking, oh, then again, no, you're not protecting anybody. Let's go back to what we documented about Simba. This is ongoing corroborating evidence. This is exactly the criminal system that Simba, the company, is engaging in and is facilitating through the corrupt business practices of Simba. That is maliciously providing housing services. This is the surface level assessment, while they are in the specific environment and enabling a corrupt police department like Ontario Police to maintain criminal presence, to maintain surveillance via communication devices, to maintain what's supposed to be the physical form for an explanation and a seemingly appropriate basis of presence under any circumstances. But there is no, you're getting past that. There is no lawful form of presence in the facilitating venue. It's the government that's acting directly and vicariously. And by the way, they are sex offenders who are obsessed together. All races. They are joined together and combined with the same condition. They're demons. They are demons who are very much woefully unprepared for a federal prosecution. And I want to be clear, the incompetence that I have been exposing as well at state and federal levels is relevant to the Ontario Police Department that feels free enough, they feel secure enough to engage in flying in circles. That's the signature of the demon-possessed. Flying in circles over me, following me around from place to place under a fake sun and an engineered light. What's the signature of the demon-possessed people of the state? Stalking with light. This is exactly what you'll see on video. And it's relevant to the unlawful threat that the federal government poses. That's a threat to your well-being while demons are stalking with light. That's a threat to your well-being while demons are stalking with sensational activity. That's a threat to your well-being while demons are stalking you under a fake sun. While they are mentally ill, they are psychologically torturing you and engaging in what are supernatural means of targeting you in order to threaten your well-being, cause you to, and you're doing that by, practically you're doing so by engaging in conduct, targeting with activity while they're monitoring you in ways that you can't even define, or like you're questioning whether did that even actually really happen, right? Causing you to question your mental illness. That's the whole purpose behind that. All right, and then the entity will engage in, oh yeah, it definitely happened, and they'll do it again, and they'll do it again and again and again. The entity's engaging in psychological torture, trying to mentally break you down, emotionally break you down. That's in furtherance of murder and kidnapping. This is what the Ontario Police Department are doing, and they just did it again on video at 6 o'clock. And I can run down, the entity's keeping the fake sun over me after 6 p.m. at the Monrovia Town Place Suites by Marriott yesterday, 2024, which was July 24, 2024. Alan San Victoris is identified while I'm documenting the P.O.C. by the gang stalking police under the fake sun at Town Place Suites by Marriott. The entity is maintaining the fake sun at the Ova Family Community Library, which is not going to be over the roof of 2301 South Euclid Avenue at 6 p.m. The sun would never be over the same roof like I'm capturing it at 7:16 a.m., where the entity is stalking by helicopter flying over my head. This is under all circumstances from all angles showing you that P.O.C. And just as an aside, racist, demon-possessed gang stalkers are obsessed with a black woman's vagina. Not just me, but her vagina. Let's keep that in mind, okay? Not my vagina, but I just want to be clear because I'm shattering all of these illusions with regard to what Satan, a spirit, uses to separate mankind. Those of us who are all made in his image. It is a signature of his glory that we're different colors and shades and speak different languages and come from different places. It is Satan himself that uses that to break up what would otherwise be identity amongst each other. Okay, and this is what Satan needs in order to, it's essentially like divide and conquer, and giving psychopaths a reason. Oh, I hate you because of your black skin. Well, in secret, you're actually worshiping and praying to Satan about my black vagina, that you are pacing around. You get in a frenzy every time I pull my panties down, and you don't want you and your white wife that are engaging in that, you don't want that to be public information. But that's built into the pattern of conduct of gang stalking. Okay, and that's what you need to know, and that's shattering illusions like racism amongst, like there's some sort of hierarchy amongst human beings. That's demonic. It's of Satan. Okay, and it is not only white people who are racist, which you should know that. I mean, if you have any sort of knowledge about history and what's going on in other countries, okay. But I just want to plead, in America, very racist country. It is not only white people that are plagued with the demonic spirit of racism. It's a spirit. And they contradict themselves when they want to be both racist, all right? I'm inferior to you because I'm a black woman, even though I'm more educated than you. Everything about what you would say about me doesn't even apply. And it doesn't even make any sense. I'm more educated than you, and I'm black and I'm less than you. All right? I'm more articulate than you. Not that I'm into competing. You can't compete with me. Only I was made to be me. But nonetheless, if you want to play that game, but supposedly ostensibly I'm less than you because I'm a black woman. All right, you were knocked up when you were a teenager. I remained a virgin well into my 20s, and I'm proud about that because I walk with Christ Jesus, and I believe what his word says. This has been my protection my entire life. This is why demons cannot come against me, cannot have any sort of victory over me. When you are obedient to what Christ has said, when you walk with him as his child, you are protected. His word will not return to him void. When you are obedient to what it is that he said, meaning, and those who love him will obey him. That's what scripture says. Not those that follow the word of God are merely religious. Okay, that's those that don't know Christ. And I want to be clear, the entity that is engaging contradicting itself. Everything that you think about black people, but it doesn't apply to me. Okay, so I don't fit into that box for you. It's inconvenient. And in addition to that, you're worshiping me. You're stalking me. You're obsessed with my vagina. But yet at the same time, your racist doctrine dictates that I'm less than you in one way or another. That doesn't even make sense logically. Okay? Racism is not a logical doctrine. It's totally irrational. And the entity is engaging in what is demonstrating it's demonic, in other words. That's a spirit. And that's a spirit that acts through people. This is what Satan needs. And these demon-possessed, gang-stalking public officials, they're worshiping my vagina, the vagina of a black woman, okay? I don't care whether they're in the hood. I don't care whether they're in the suburbs. You've seen the identical pattern of conduct. And this is defying what are these racist doctrines out here, like a white person is not gang-stalking. I have shown you a whole police department of white people that are gang-stalking and worshiping my vagina. They just flew over in helicopter at Economy Inn. It's the Ontario Police Department. Okay, it's currently 7:27 p.m. The entity is engaging in the P.O.C. Simba is the cause of what is a threat to my life. The entity is monitoring my device while I document the California Supreme Court threatening my life with commercial planes, while I document Jason Isaac Fields threatening my life with amplified audible activity, impossible light activity, stalking with sensational activity, while I document the entity that is gang stalking by Simba. The entity engages in what is stalking by the Ontario Police Department, flying in circles over me. This is the entity that's not only gang stalking, but is engaging in what is monitoring on communication devices. Remember, criminal monitoring is gang stalking. Okay, it's happening. Surveillance, in other words, is occurring on your devices. Surveillance is happening on the internet. Surveillance is happening at Economy Inn, where I remain in that environment where you are obviously gang stalking, including while the unintelligent demons of the Ontario Police provide a template which is informing the rest of this country regarding how are demons that want to be confused with law enforcement agencies targeting American citizens. And you will see it in the video at around 6 p.m. where the Ontario Police are gang stalking under a fake sun, while its co-defendant Simba is being documented through screenshots showing you the fake sun that's over me at 1:47 p.m. where they're stalking a woman engaging in a sex offense through what is the corrupt business practices of Simba that's engaged in gang stalking, and using housing services as the guise for engaging in gang stalking with the Ontario Police, who then is threatening my life and safety while I'm documenting their co-defendant, okay? It's documentation of Simba. This is relevant to, remember, the entity is engaging in the same method of gang stalking at wood sites in your apartments, the same method of gang stalking at Starbucks, both the one at 706 West Hall Boulevard and the one at 507 North Euclid Avenue. This is what the entity is doing in Los Angeles at Alvarado Gardens. How many times am I standing outside showing you the fake sun while I'm at work, and the entity flies right over my head while I'm capturing video, and the demons who are triggered by the truth that I speak fly right over my head while that fake sun is there. And where does that fake sun at the end of my work schedule at 5 p.m.? It's still there at my office. And then the entity is keeping a fake sun over Economy. And these are the demons that are surrounded by insurmountable evidence. They are not intelligent. They are just obsessed. They're just corrupt. And the corruption of these lower spiritual beings that could not contain gang stalking me, the federal government is permitting that threat against me. And that's also going to inform those who are already barred from ever coming into my presence. Because there's not going to be any mystery. You're gang stalking as a corrupt government. Be prepared to be exposed. Be prepared to go to federal prison if I documented you. And you're being documented while you were stealing my property, while I'm on the streets in the field documenting gang stalking, and you are in a court somewhere defaming my character, making up information about me so you could steal my money and property. Be prepared to go to federal prison. I'm already documenting you. I don't have to be in that courtroom. I've already surrounded you. This is the providence of walking with Christ Jesus. You would call it prophetic. I call it just being in obedience to what he tells you to do. I don't have to see you. I don't have to be in that courtroom and hear the lies that you're speaking while I'm in the field documenting gang stalking by the Ontario Police, by the people of the state, in Los Angeles, in Monrovia, in Pasadena, in Arcadia, in San Bernardino, in Rialto, California, in Las Vegas, Nevada. All right, while I'm in Bakersfield, California, in Costa Mesa, Newport Beach, and you are lying on my character so that you can aid in what is falsely depicted my character in any way to steal money from me, to steal property from me, to steal my intellectual property. Be prepared to go to federal prison. That's how I documented you gang stalking. And if you are serving a position in government, you're losing that position in government. You're not going to remain, and you are going to federal prison. You are why the entity is gang stalking and threatening my life right now. Right now. It is currently 7:31 p.m. This is P.O.C. The entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct while the gang stalking housekeeper, she's the means of pacing all day long, and then the entity engages in what is stalking by helicopter. They're not helping the gang stalking immigrants. They're getting shipped right out of this country. It's not a distraction. While you're gang stalking as a corrupt company like Simba, they're going to be prosecuted. It's a federal RICO case. It's no small thing at all. The Ontario Police is being disbanded. It's not going to stop with them. They're being disbanded, and guess what? In their In the demise of that agency, they are lying. What's lying behind them is everybody that was gang stalking me with that corrupt city of Ontario. They're not taking over anything, helping anybody, superseding all the criminal conduct that I documented, all the rest of it. No, that's corroborating everybody that I documented. License 8MBP997, gang stalking with the Ontario Police. The Simba gang stalking with the license plate that I documented at 1:47 p.m. Gang stalking with the Ontario Police. The gang stalking that I'm documenting by the 45 rooms at Economy Inn while they're pacing in and out of their rooms. They are doing it under a fake sun that's remaining over the building, remaining over me as I walk to each end of the building, gang stalking both as employees and as patrons and as demons just driving on and off the property, pacing on the roads and the highways as the 60 freeway, while a bunch of demons are obsessed with a black woman's vagina. And they would like to state that they are superior to black people, those who are racist, those who feed into those demonic spirits. This is shattering all those illusions. And this is what is relevant regarding what I just documented, okay? At 2301 South Euclid Avenue, the sex offenders are monitoring my vagina, and this is relevant to the documentation that I've been capturing since 2018. I am publishing video documentation onto YouTube regarding what I'm documenting in 2021. I'm currently in December of 2021, and I will be going into 2022, where the entity is keeping the fake sun, for example, on January 1st, 2022, at 630 North Fern Avenue, where the sunrise until the sunset is documented as I sit in that car all day long. And that's where the fake sun sat all day long. By the way, 630 North Fern Avenue is across the street from the Deport Professional Building, where I document the fake sun. And it's not over 630 North Fern, because I'm not sleeping in a car in front of 630 North Fern, where the people of the state, not a private citizen, is engaging in surveillance, not personal private activity protected by the Constitution, not free speech. Okay, the Deport Professional Building, the sunrise that I documented at the Deport Professional Building is speaking to surveillance that the entire state of California is engaging in. That's why it's occurring at Economy Inn, out of conformity, incongruent with nature. Okay, but it is in conformity with the pattern of conduct. And on January 1st, 2022, the Montclair Police Department are gang stalking me at the Montclair Mall. Montclair Place is what it's called. While the fake sun is, and the fake sunset, that's again occurring while the Montclair Place, the Montclair Plaza is adjacent to the 10 freeway. And that's where the entity is flying over my head by helicopter as I walk into that mall. It sounds like something similar, like flying over my head while I walk into Walmart. Wow, which happened in Burbank, California. This is happening at the Walmart in Ontario, California. It's happening at the Walmart in Upland, California. It's a pattern of conduct while I'm subject to domestic terrorism at places including Starbucks as well. This is a P.O.C. that's shared by the state of California. Corrupt business practices is what is underway. Every business in California, including those engaging in business on the venue of the internet, which is speaking to federal law. Federal stalking. Every business in the state of California, no exception, is engaging in federal stalking. This is relevant to a tremendous federal RICO case. While I'm subject to things like the Montclair Police flying over my head by helicopter at the Montclair Place Mall, the Ontario Police flying over my head by helicopter at the Walmart in Ontario, California, at 5th Street and Mountain Avenue. Okay, while I'm documenting the Upland Police Department flying over my head by helicopter at the Upland Walmart in Upland, California. Okay, this is the pattern of conduct, and then I'm in Burbank, California, the same P.O.C. like I just pointed out. The corrupt business practices is relevant to the federal RICO case, where you have a bunch of demons that are acting with a level of impunity that the federal government is sharing in. Okay, this is P.O.C. And like I said before, no domestic terrorist that is engaging in this pattern of conduct, even thinking that exposing me and threatening me vicariously. And now vicariously, I want to be clear, not vicariously like the people of the state, but the federal government vicariously targeting me through lower beings like the demons of the city of Ontario. Okay, but this is still the state acting directly, whether it's the local government, state government, federal government. It's the same public entity as I have defined it with regard to how you are prosecuting under I.I.S, which I advocate for federal law. Okay, a federal group stalking statute, in other words. The entity, which is terrorism, gang violence, the government's engaging in it. And there is actually no like hardcore go-to with regard to prosecuting domestic terrorism in this country, and that's also not a coincidence. And I have advocated with regard to how to address criminal surveillance by corrupt government and a corrupt public corruption. Okay, this gang violence that the government is engaging in, and it's referred to as SIIS, systematic infliction of inhumane suffering. This is speaking to the federal RICO case against that state, and it happens to be the state of California. All right. Jason Isaac Fields is somebody that represents an unlawful threat. Communicating a threat to me as I document, and you are hostile because you will not be permitted in my presence, just like any other stalker that's subject to a restraining order. After you're a prosecuted stalker, okay, a prosecuted, documented domestic terrorist has no right under the law to be in the presence of that targeted individual unless you consent to it. And no sane person, I mean, you do what you want, but I have no intention of doing that. And no documented terrorist, no sex offender, no psychopath like Jason Isaac Fields, who is continuously threatening me through his demonic entity that is stalking. He's been stalking me with the Ontario Police Department, been kidnapping me with the Ontario Police Department, and defaming me through the Ontario Police Department. And he is still threatening me while I document him, and I'm subject to the pattern of conduct inside of this hotel room. Jason Isaac Fields is a sex offender. He will never be permitted outside of violating federal law in my presence, okay? And that's something that I fully intend to exercise to the fullest extent of the law. This is somebody that belongs in federal prison, period, though, at the outset, out the gate with regard to a default prosecution, okay? Him and his sex partner, Tracy Banks. Okay, it's currently 7:38 p.m. This is P.O.C. at Economy Inn, and it is Friday. All right, 7:41 p.m. Ontario International Airport, gang stalking by commercial plane. As I am uploading right now the video and all the images onto the Google Drive. This is not only gang stalking that the City of Ontario, Alan D. WAPNER, is always engaged in, but it's also relevant to surveillance on my devices and on the internet. This is the government that's engaging in what is maintenance of very detailed information of pertaining to its exposure, which it is aware of, while choosing to stalk me using the most ridiculous, extreme, and mentally demented methods such as commercial planes. The entity that's engaging in what is arriving and departing from the Ontario International Airport has nothing to do with what's published on that website. The entity that's arriving and departing from Terminals 2 and Terminal 4 at 2500 and 2900 Airport Drive is not flying over my hotel room, where plane activity is filling my hotel room with loud plane engine, roaring plane engines. That's happening in Engineer Light. It's stalking by the same City of Ontario that flew in circles over me. And this is where you're getting to the common sense. It's the same City of Ontario stalking with planes that you saw on video, stalking in helicopter, where the fake sun is rising and setting, where the entity is monitoring evidence against itself. This level of criminal conduct is happening while the federal government would assert that they're investigating something, okay? This is getting to also incompetence, which is also becoming a legally relevant threat to the life of an American citizen when that government is gang stalking you in furtherance of murder and kidnapping. Okay, it's 7:42 p.m. Alan D. WAPNER, he's being removed from office. He is, again, another white male obsessed with my vagina, gang stalking me and using the most expensive manner. That's how important my vagina is to him, that he gang stalks me using commercial planes while he is a demon-possessed terrorist leader calling himself a president of the airport authority over the gang stalker that is the Ontario International Airport, where no plane departing or arriving at either two terminals would include flying over this hotel at the elevation that would disrupt my hotel stay. And it's not coincidentally happening while I'm uploading video documentation onto the video of the internet onto the Google Drive. It's currently 7:43 p.m. This is what the Ontario Police Department, the same City of Ontario, was doing while I was documenting Simba, okay, pursuant to monitoring the evidence. And these are demons that are engaging in surveillance, and it's demonic, okay? That's P.O.C. It's 7:43 p.m. All right, it is currently 9:33 p.m. Economy Inn is engaging in federal stalking using the television, which again, the provider is Spectrum. Spectrum is a documented gang stalker. Spectrum is gang stalking through its demon-possessed employees under the fake sun with LAPD at Alvarado Gardens. They're gang stalking with the entity at Economy Inn as well under the fake sun. Pay attention to 2021, very heavily documented domestic terrorism and sexual violence by Spectrum. It is also gang stalking through the use of a communication device, which is the TV inside of this room, while I'm operating my phone and my phone stalls, for example, while overnight, like I documented in the early hour mornings, taking pictures of the television that, again, quote unquote, loses signal. That's controlling the operation of a device. and the entity engages in as I log on to the Wi-Fi network of economy in. The television is a means of activity, stalking with activity, that's demonic. So that demonic feature of a means of monitoring you is relevant to domestic terrorism. It's also a sex offense while the entity is monitoring inside of a hotel room. The entity is engaging in what is psychopathic conduct using inanimate objects to monitor you as well. This is relevant to a whole bunch of demons that are aware of every little thing you're doing in the, well, I'm in a hotel room, but this is relevant to a method. It's merely giving, it's illustrative with regard to the government's criminal monitoring system that's underway at all places. So it is currently 9:34 p.m. The entity is doing so while I'm on my device right now. The television goes out, and the television goes out while I'm trying to operate my phone, which stalled out. This is the app on my phone. As I get a pop-up then says that the app just was not operating correctly. And so as I select for that app to close, the television comes back on. This is a method of stalking with activity. The television screen going on and off is light activity. The audio of the television, whatever you're watching, going in and out is audible activity. And this is a means of monitoring inside of the hotel room, which I documented very thoroughly by Spectrum, who also comes and engages in the pattern of conduct at Economy Inn while psychopaths and sex offenders that are demon possessed engage in what are gang stalking you more in a more personal manner, because that's how obsessed they are. So as you document them at a distance, they want to be closer and closer to you, and that is represented through corrupt companies that are gang stalking commercially, like Spectrum. So I just want to be clear regarding context, and this is not new. Economy Inn has been a sex offender, and this is where the Ontario Police is still engaged in criminal monitoring, like you saw on video, like you listened to on video as I narrated it at 5:58 p.m. And this is where the entity is starting the pacing. I capture the video starting at, I believe, 6:03 p.m. and 6:14 p.m. So that was over 10 minutes of psychopathic pacing. This is indeed where the televisions inside of the hotel room is used as monitoring. Okay, it's 9:36 p.m. This is P.O.C. All 45 rooms are sharing in criminal monitoring. Everybody occupying those rooms are stalking in the path. They're stalking with light. They are stalking with the management as well. The manager, again, licensed KKB 99, he's gang stalking while I document the sex offensive monitoring me inside of a hotel room. It's P.O.C.